Peace, peace. Good afternoon, everyone. Shabbat. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm about to say Shabbat Shalom, and it is not the Sabbath. But Shalom, everyone. Peace, peace, and greetings. Greetings, greetings. I'm actually just going to get myself into Clubhouse, and then we'll get started. Okay. If I can get myself into Clubhouse. It looks like it's doing something a little weird. So let's see. Okay, there we go. All right, peace, peace. In Clubhouse, willfully everyone can hear me. And on Facebook and YouTube, I will that you all can hear and see me well. So I am Yakira-Eden, and of course you are here with the Honor Life Global Ministries Midday Affirmative. I think we always start out with some sort of musical intro, so I'm not going to change that at all. We're going to hear some music, and it's actually one of my favorite songs right now by Chief Yuya. And if you don't know, it seems like every Yom Shishi, Chief Yuya has been putting out a new song, and so I'm still kind of stuck on one from a few strongs ago. So here's a little bit of it. This is I Am. And I apologize if it's not that loud or clear. All right, give thanks. And that was I Am by our Chief Jegna, Chief Yuya. I'll get into a little bit about why I chose that song, and it may become clear as we take this journey today. So again, peace, peace, and welcome to everyone in the space on Facebook, YouTube, and Clubhouse. Yes, so peace and welcome. Let me go through the chat. So peace, of course, give thanks, Chief Yuya. And yes, please feel free to join the conversation via StreamYard or Clubhouse. Definitely, I really want to encourage everyone to jump in and share. and be a part of the body of this experience today. Peace, Master Menelek. Thank you for joining. Peace and welcome, Imanaya. Big up to Imanaya. You did a fantastic job last night breaking down beauty on the second episode of the Womb Room, where Imanaya, co-facilitated by Akoti Maria, touched in and actually went really deep into beauty and what beauty is from a Western perspective, but more importantly, what beauty is when you have right culture, or new culture specifically. Peace, Abba Herut. Peace, Sister Yafe. Greetings to Abba Ras Kush. Thank you for being here. Peace, Sister Sovereign Eats, Kotsi Maria. Thank you for joining. Peace, Aki Zach. Aki, I was about to say Aki Lo. You need to change your handle. Peace, Aki El Karar. Akoti Yamina, Ema Top Tier Speaker, and yeah. And Akoti Yafe also wanted to acknowledge Imanaya. Yes, good job leading the build on beauty. For those of you who don't know, technically at sundown, which Chief did explain that during the the season, I guess I'll say the season finale of 2022. During the challenge episode of his podcast, he did share that scripturally, he shared what a day is, or a yom is, right? And he went into explaining that it's from sunset to sunset. So technically, our womb builds are what you would consider Saturday night or Yom Shabbat evening, but technically it's actually first day, or our Sunday. So please join us on the same channel, the same location, every evening on Saturday, Yom Shabbat, at 8 p.m. for the womb room discussions. All right, so our theme today is the title, right? And the title is Firing on All Cylinders. And then we have a beautiful visual, and that visual is actually like a web, right? And I'm going to get into what that web represents and how it connects to the brain-body connection. So before we get into any of that, I wanted to do things a little different. I wanted us to take a journey by way of visualization. So please, if you don't mind, oh, thank you, Master Menelek. Yes, I know I accidentally preemptively posed a question. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm here reading the chat. I accidentally posed the question in advance, so thank you. I'm actually going to save your answer, and we're gonna bring that back up a little later. And before we get into the visualization, I have to share. I'm just gonna go ahead and highlight this. Chief Yuya says, every time Naya said something wise, she logged off the live show and then came back for an encore. Yeah, that was her version of a mic drop. I would agree, because she was on fire, and I would say her internet was acting funny style. So her internet did not want her to be great, but she was great nonetheless. And then, of course, she had her community of sisters there to jump right on in. So let's begin with a visualization. While seated comfortably, or perhaps you choose to lie down, I want to invite you to take a moment to do a brief body scan. Begin at the top of your head and pay attention to the sensations going from the top of your head to the very tip of the toes and soles of your feet. Remember to relax. Consider closing your eyes and through the nose take in one deep cleansing breath. Inhale, hold for a second, then release through the nose. We're going to do that again. Through the nose, inhale deep. Exhale. Behind softly closed eyelids, envision the galaxy. Black, abundant space. We will call this the potential of all. On this blank canvas, all is truly possible. Healing, a unified body, sound mind, functioning community, family, unconditional love, kindness, patience. All is possible. All is possible in this infinite and abundant galaxy. Now take just one word, perhaps it is family, patience, kindness, or love. Take one word and imagine a cohesive, loving, unified existence with that thing. All working together. Each having their own distinct role, yet unified under the banner of oneness. One family, one body, everything together. Everything moving together. You are a part of this great galaxy of infinite potential. Where everything is working together. Feel the sensation of togetherness bringing warmth, gladness, comfort, and peace. We exist peacefully when functioning all together. Take a moment to experience this in your body. Relax shoulders, smiling face, sunny skies, sea breeze mist, all together. A unified body working and functioning all together. Let's take a moment to offer gratitude. Gratitude for it all. Gratitude for it all working together. Now let's take another breath. Deep breath in through the nose. And hold. Release. And just take a moment to feel, together. One body, fully present and unified. If you're lying down, please begin to just wiggle your fingers and your toes. If your eyes were closed, you can continue to keep them closed for a minute. Begin to sit up. Open your eyes. And that concludes our visualization journey. I will you've enjoyed the ride of us all working together. All right. So, my whole energy is completely different. So I will that you can still hear me loud and clear, but I think a lot of the amplification of my voice will come back in a little bit. Everything's still like working together, moving in unison internally. I want to just offer devotion and praise to my heavenly architect, architect, Yah, the mighty one who fashioned me precisely as the mission requires. There's a deliberate intention for each of our design. And I encourage us as individuals to recognize the gift that is your form, your function. To my earthly head, Chief Yuya, I offer reverence. I thank you for molding and reshaping all within the body of Anu. You do this so masterfully, and I will that you are pleased, right? Please, I chuckle because I always think of like clay. And it's like you make it, and it may not quite be how you like, so it's constantly being reshaped and reformed. But I will that, we function in a fashion that is pleasing to you and the ultimate vision given to you by Yah. So with that, we are going to jump right in. And of course, if you'd like to join on Clubhouse, just jump on stage. And I'm not quite looking down, so just unmute and jump on in whenever you feel like it, because we are moving together. And peace, greetings, Safta Ahava. And yes, Akoti Maria. I didn't say it, but yeah, we did a brief meditation, a brief visualization as we get into the topic of firing on all cylinders. So I wanted to just start by asking a question, coming fresh out of that visualization. When you think of the term firing on all cylinders, what comes to mind? Tell me. It can be one word. It could have been something that came through the visualization that was really clear, that just kind of, maybe there was a spark of something, or maybe you chose to not keep your eyes closed and instead focused on what was on the screen, which was kind of moving and flowing, right, and doing something together. But I'm curious, what do you think of when you hear the term or think of the term firing on all cylinders? So Master Menelik says, to answer the question, firing on all cylinders brings to mind a machine with multiple parts, that has all of its parts functioning as they were designed to at the same time. Thank you for that. Yeah, thank you for that. When I shared the theme yesterday with some of the sisters, actually, I was asked, well, what does that mean? What did you want to portray? And I'm going to get into that. But what I was happy about was that the sister that was speaking essentially said exactly that. Like, she was imagining a part of the car, and I think they're called pistons, the things that kind of go up and down. I think they're called pistons. That's what I told her. Um, but yeah, I think Master Menelik said it yesterday. He never thought in a conversation about beauty, that I would be sharing about sheetrock and plastering. So you just never know the things I'm going to pull from. And I don't always know if they're 100% accurate, but this is what I imagine. And I'm going to trust that it all works together. Yeah. Or that it at least comes together with some clarity and definition by everyone else that's here. So thank you, Master Menelik, for answering that question. And I'm going to scroll on down. And Aki Zach says, being in the pocket. Yeah. Let me click this. So he says, being in the pocket or the flow of life. And being on 100. I guess that's what that's saying. Yeah, being in the pocket, right? So that makes me think of jazz and just how much it's about remaining in that flow and being able to just move in oneness, right? There is no opportunity to say, all right, I messed up. Like, let's take it from the top. It's like, no, you're going to flow for as long as we're flowing. And trust that whatever you're bringing into the space when you're functioning from that place of being a part of, or even acknowledging that you're a part of a unified body, that you're bringing what is needed. Period. So yeah, I would agree with that. Thank you. Ema, I don't know why that keep happening. So Ema Top Tier Speaker says a lot of creative ideas. Right. So yeah, just a lot flowing. That makes sense. Yes, an engine piston turning. Yes. So I was right. It is a piston. Boom. Yes. I know about that. Probably from a commercial. I don't know, something. So Koti Yafe said, I think of a car engine. Yes, even though I know nothing about cars. Exactly. You're not the only one, but we know something. Emanias says sparks. Yes, and the inside of something mechanical moving with ease. All right, we're getting somewhere with this. We're getting somewhere. My eyes are, y'all, I think I put on way too much something on my face. And it's going in my eyes. And by something, I don't mean makeup, right? Like not that. The oil that I put on my face right before the live. All right, so a spark, or yes, inside of something mechanical moving with ease. Absolutely. Aki Zach says a jump shot going in. Yes. Playing solid defense and being an overall beast. That definitely sounds like firing on all cylinders, right? Seeing things. Thank you for this. Seeing things from multiple perspectives. Yes. And Akoti Yafe says, me too, Aki El Karar. It was from a commercial about, oh, yes. I think that's where I got it from too. Like just picturing the pistons and, something inside the engine doing something. It did make me think of firing on all cylinders as well. So Okoti Maria says the spark of electricity that we see just before lightning strikes. Oh, I like this one. And the sky exploding into electric particles lighting up the sky. Each particle creates a powerful emission. That's the free radicals. That's the free. Yes. Okay. So in order to get the context on the free radicals, you have to go back to yesterday's episode on beauty, yesterday's womb room episode on beauty, where Okoti Yafe, in a former life, was buying products to eradicate free radicals, though she, nor the salesperson, was clear on what a free radical actually was. But it seems Master Menelik has figured it out. The free radicals are I don't know if he's saying they're pistons or they were firing on all cylinders or what. I don't want to get backed up in the chat, so I'm just going to keep reading through these before getting into why I came up with the title or what the thought was or what the intention was behind it. The Last Samurai, when Tom Cruise fought with no mind, he just did it, right? So then firing on all cylinders is a I know you're saying did it, but it's like a being. It's just like being. Yeah. One of the definitions from the Googles: a piston chamber in a steam or internal combustion engine. There you go. Thanks to the Googles. Okay. It applies to each inspired Nubian expanding their work to touch others, creating a hub of creativity and productivity. I like that. I like that. That definitely takes me to the visualization. Oh, and I'm sorry, I like completely neglected Clubhouse, right? So let me just say peace to, I already greeted you, but I'll greet you over here. Peace, Chief Yuyad. Thank you for being here. Peace. Peace, Kotiyape. You're in Clubhouse. You're behind the scenes. You're in the chat. You're on Clubhouse. You're all together. Awesome. Do y'all know that? That's from a movie. That was a movie reference. I'm so proud of myself. What movie is that from? Y'all better know it. What?
To watch that. That doesn't even sound like a good movie.
All together, awesome. Come on, come through. Who knows it? I know Aki Zach knows it. It's a children's movie.
Is it Legoland?
It is a Lego movie. All together, awesome. Okay. I'll get back to the greetings. Peace, Aki Darian. Come through, Aki Zach. I see you in Clubhouse. Peace, Sherla, and peace, Aki Jason. Welcome, 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 and thank you. And please feel free to, jump in and contribute as you see fit. I don't want to lose this chat.
So I'll give my 2 cents on the cylinder thing. You still taking that, or you jump to the next thing?
Oh, no. That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, sure. So the cylinder is like, or the cylinder chamber is like the stomach of a car, because that's where fuel that comes in is converted to energy. So firing on all cylinders makes me think of pressure. If someone gives you some information or puts a battery in your back, something that would motivate you and propel you forward, if you use it immediately, because the thing that makes cylinders misfire, let's say if you have a 4-cylinder car, 6-cylinder, 8-cylinder, 12-cylinder, doesn't matter. It will misfire primarily if there's usually an issue with the spark plug, or if there's a lack of compression inside of the cylinder chamber. So there has to be a certain amount of pressure to make sure that when that gas comes in, that and it hits the spark, that there's a fire. So there's constantly this fire happening. That's why you have some communities, some Jewish communities, who they don't drive on Sabbath because the Torah speaks about not lighting a fire, not kindling a fire during Sabbath. So technically, when you drive a car, unless it's an electric car, there's still fire in it, but when you drive a car, you're starting a fire over and over and over and over and over again. So to me, when you're firing on all cylinders, I think that was your title. You're firing on all cylinders.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking all of what you've received. You're not taking any of it for granted. You're putting pressure on it, because what happens too is when that pressure falls, sometimes leaks happen. Sometimes you'll be driving your car, you smell something sweet inside. You don't know where the heck it's coming from. That usually means coolant has leaked into the head, and there's coolant inside of where your cylinder is, where it should be no coolant. It should be just dry because you need fire in there, and coolant, will cause misfire. So there could be a lack of pressure, or that sacred space where you need to be processing information. You've allowed it to be infiltrated. You didn't seal it tight enough. You didn't keep it clean enough and keep the spark and the high energy going enough. So now some of your cylinders are not firing. So instead of now you got an 8-cylinder engine, now you got a seven-cylinder or 6-cylinder, or instead of a 4-cylinder engine, you got a 3-cylinder engine now. So it's like if part of your stomach wasn't digesting food properly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I see it. If you're firing on all cylinders, you're keeping the pressure on. What's being given to you, you're using it right away, and you're doing it in a very sacred way where you're not allowing anything or anyone to infiltrate that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. The idea of utilization, like what you're doing with what you receive, is exactly where we'll be heading. So yay, I'm glad you and everyone else were able to, like, I'm glad that my title connects, because I thought I was going to pull a Aki Zach where it's like, look, I got to fess up. My title is incongruent with the journey we're about to take. but it came together. So yay. So I'm going to get through these.
Well, we don't really know if it came together yet, though, because we haven't really.
In my mind.
The message.
I know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But for all we know, you can change the message. You know what I mean? So we're going off the honor system here, but we don't know if it came together yet.
Right. I'm just going to take what you said, and I'm going to.
Because I didn't hear you break down combustion and things like that. You know what I mean? Because then we got to get into the crankshaft and all the exhaust that comes and the fumes that come from that combustion now will turn the crankshaft. Get into all that.
Okay, production team, get to the Googles. Get to the Googles.
There we go. Right.
No, I'm not getting into any of that.
Get up underneath your car. Get your hands dirty. Then come back. We'll wait.
All right. It's raining and hailing here today, so maybe tomorrow. Thank you. But no, I definitely won't be getting into what you just said. But I think I will, and let me know in the end whether we're moving together. So let me see what. In peace, Akotiafe. Thank you for joining. Welcome to the stage. So Abaharut says firing on all cylinders means to have all functions working in and being in sync, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually harmonious. Yeah, well, he said emotionally and physically harmonious. So absolutely, everything working in oneness, right? Like this. I know. Savani says, haha, in a former life, I loved it. Oh, okay. The pistons and all of that stuff. Yeah. I think you've shared some of that. The free radicals are what's making. Yeah. Is it? Yeah, I need those free radicals to be shackled a little bit. They need to be wrangled. Thank you for clarifying. No free radicals in my eyes, but there's a little bit of, I don't know, some coconut oil maybe. Okay, yes, Aki Zach, I knew you'd get it. Lego, it's Legoland. No, Lego movie. Yes, Lego movie. Everything is awesome. Okay. Okay, that's why I took in you and not on you. And I've been firing on all cylinders ever since. All right, I think he was addressing Chief Yuya and acknowledging that based on what Chief just shared about his definition of firing on all cylinders, Aki Zach is fully, validated in all of the quotes that he, fires on all cylinders, and then actually claims as his own. But that's a private matter. Let's see, what else is here? Ha ha. The carburetor. The carburetor laminator. I don't, that's not a thing. Maybe that's a movie reference. I don't know. I don't know that movie. You poured the gasoline in the lasagna. What? Okay. I don't know. Keep it up, Zach. I'm about to do a whole football photo shoot. Let's go under every picture. Yes, right. Still his quote. Right, Ema, I don't know what's happening. I just posed a nice introductory question, but I am happy for the engagement. I don't know what's going on with lamination or lasagna. I don't know. At this point, it has gone beyond. Okay. Okay, so now he's referring to the quote. Yes, it takes on a life of its own after a while. But you know what's interesting is that's what happens with our thoughts. Our thoughts, or the things that we meditate on in our mind, it takes on a life of its own. And actually, that we're gonna stop right there, because that actually brings me to what I thought of. So when I thought of this title, I actually pictured electricity. But whenever I picture electricity, I picture like these sparks flying. And I know Aki Darian, he actually shared a bit more detail, well, in greater detail, what's happening, like what's happening when you plug something into an outlet, or actually what's happening even beneath the wires, right? That's maintaining a safe environment or functioning. Maybe it's a conduit, like those wires are the conduit for those sparks to fly, or that electricity to move. And it made me think of the little bit that I know about the brain and how the brain works and functions. And so the idea of firing on all cylinders came from my thoughts about the brain and synapses, and how, we send signal, how those synapses send signals to the body. So it's like, I need to rub my eye because there's coconut oil dripping into my ojos, or eyes right now, right? I think that's eyes in Spanish. Ojos, I think. Those are immediate signals. Something says, brain says, oh, she needs to rub on her eyes. Make it happen. So the idea of firing on cylinders, that's what comes to mind for me. Today, at this point, yes, ojos. Thank you, resident. I'm not going to call you linguistics expert, because then, somebody on the line might unmute and make a mockery of us all. So thank you for that. Yes. I think that was like elementary school Spanish there.
You know it.
I'm not going to do it to her. I'm not going to do it to me. And you will not have to suffer the indignity of having to correct us with something we know is wrong. And look, and she's even like, nope, not it, not me. I'm far from it. I just know ojos from middle school Spanish. Indeed. As I barely remembered when I said it. So today, what I will that we walk away with is considering how right thinking and right culture will aid in us transforming our thoughts, and therefore the body, not just your individual body, but the body of your community. So, and of course, I'm Anu, so I'm speaking to the body of Anu. As we each allow our mind, our thoughts, our brain, right, to become, to really to do what Chief said, to take the information, take the instruction, direction that is placed inside of us and move with it, right? And to continually move in the direction. I just had like a football visual, Aki Zach. I know the quarterback runs the ball. That I do know. And the quarterback has no hesitation. There's no delay between getting that ball, or even preparing, being in the right position to receive that ball and getting to the intended destination. So if you perceive the ball as the thought and that quarterback as the synapses that are firing, it's kind of like delivering that thing to whatever part of the body is the goal line. I was going to say the goal post, the goal line.
What does the running back do?
He runs in the back. I don't know.
Okay, so you said the quarterback runs the ball. So I was just curious if the running back.
Looky here. I know the quarterback runs with the ball.
Okay.
He tucks it under and he runs. Okay.
I got you. Just curious, just checking.
Aki Zach, I need to phone a friend. What do the running back do?
You don't want to do that.
We be here till tomorrow.
Nah, I think y'all want to do it. You might as well keep going.
The quarterback doesn't run the ball.
First of all, if you remember correctly, according to Abba Haruk, Aki Zach is a hunchback. That's what he called it. So, hunchback don't know nothing about no halfback, no tailback, no quarterback, none of that.
Right. Listen. Right. The hunchback. He knows what he does. He just rings the bell.
Exactly.
He rings the bell. All right, Aki Zach, come through. Come on, big brother, Aki Zach.
Peace and blessings. Technically,
tell me.
The quarterback can't. It depends on the system.
Boom.
So like Lamar Jackson, he'll be like they switch him up and have him run, but they would rather him not run because if the quarterback gets hurt, then it's a downhill trying to replace him. So you try to give it to the running back and put more pressure on them because they're designed and built for it.
Oh, so what does the quarterback do? Like, we just gonna go there, so I'll know for next time.
He does what Chief does, runs the offense. He makes sure everybody's in the right position. He makes sure that, where they're lined up. He knows all of the plays. He knows all of, where everybody is supposed to be and make sure that everybody shines.
Okay. I just remember Brett Favre. Yeah, I thought they always throw the quarterback the ball and then he scores. No?
Nah, the quarterback
throws the quarterback the ball, then he scores.
Yeah, then he runs. You didn't see my hands? I was doing the running.
Wow, I think that sounds like basketball, first of all. That don't even sound like, just.
All right.
I told you don't bring Zach. You don't do it.
I thank you. I thank you for the clarity, Chief and Aki Zach. I don't know.
You got wide receivers and tight ends. Who you would throw the ball to. He wouldn't throw it to himself. He'd be a bad dude if you did, though. I would like to see that.
No, somebody throws it to him. That's what I'm saying. And then I thought he catches it. But okay, maybe I got it all messed up.
Well, the center will hike it to him.
Yeah, I think you're thinking of the hike. You thinking like when he throws it between his legs? That's what you're thinking?
Yes.
Lavender 42, Peach 57.
Right. Hut.
You're thinking more of shotgun formation instead of being under the center. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
I was thinking about the shotgun formation.
You don't know what shotgun is.
I like, who got the shotgun? They in formation. Give thanks for trying to help me out, Aki Zach. I know it's not what I speaketh. So I just had a visual, and it entailed football and a ball and a goal, and it connecting to what we're going to get into. But yeah, that was fun. And I learned a little something. And thank you, Master Menelek. Yes, I see you in the chat. You also give us some guidance and instructions. It's always great. We could be on here and say the completely wrong thing and get put right back on the right track. The quarterback throws the ball. All right, I'm not reading Anu Radio. I don't. You're in the Anu womb. You might know what you're saying, but I'm gonna go with what was already said. All All right. So when functioning under right culture, we'll be able to recognize our gifts, right? And those gifts are a manifestation of like, it's something that we need to manifest here in this present time. But if our focus is on what we're not, right? And I'll kind of stick with the football analogy. It's kind of like the running back is looking at the quarterback like, man, I want to be the one leading on the plays. I want to be the chief Yuya of this road show, right? I don't want to just. I think you said they have the body for, so they must be the big guys. I don't want to be this big and bulky and have to take all the hits, right? I want to just be on the line, giving the instructions, and your perception is that that's what that person does, and that role is somehow better than your role. What I will, hold on, it looks like, what I will is that, oh snap, what I will is that you all really begin to appreciate how firing on all cylinders, how being fully a slave to your purpose actually like propels you forward. Yeah. So what we do, oh, let's see. Oh, that's the lineman. Oh man. All right. So I'm still getting it wrong. Okay. That's the linemen that are big and bulky. The big and bulky ones, they take the hits, or they are the ones giving the hits, depending on whether you're defending the ball or not offending the ball.
Don't even worry about it. You don't need to know. This is not something you need to know. You know, I'll tell you, I'll throw something in there.
Thank you.
Women who know about football are always suspect, and basketball. They start running down players to you, stuff like that. You got to start asking a deeper level of question. So it's perfectly fine.
Yay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I was a lineman, though. When I played, I was a lineman.
Okay.
So you got the big and bulky part right. You got that right.
But it wasn't the linebacker. Okay. All right. Linebacker.
Let's just, how about we just.
Okay. I'm going to just move on.
Yeah, because you're confusing the children.
Don't want to do that. Okay. So really connecting back to the visualization, the reason that, I stressed all together, all moving together, no matter what, no matter what you saw, right? When in your galaxy, however you saw community or family or the idea of love, health or connectedness, however you saw that in your mind's eye, or you felt that within your body, my intention was that you were able to understand that it was all connected, that it was all based on you being prompted to have a thought. And that within a second, a woman who has a lot of junk. I don't know. Oh, what's a fullback then? Oh, that's funny. A fullback. Let me stay focused here. That's hilarious. So then okay. Then there's an empty back, huh? All right. So, or flat back. All right. Let me get back on track here. So that's what I will. That when you did the visualization, you were able to kind of just start to picture togetherness, and not that idea of looking at what another person's role is, or even looking at yourself and not having a full appreciation, or not even seeking to gain a full appreciation for what you've been allocated, what you've been given. And what I'd like you to do. I can't focus with the chat of flurry. It's making me laugh. 3-point stance, pow. I don't know what's happening in the chat. So again, affirm that every cell, every nerve, every fold, every wrinkle, everything that you've been appointed was crafted for you. It is all a part of your divine charge, right? All of this is what then encapsulates your body, and how you mentally respond to your body dictates how efficiently or effectively, I was mixing those two together, efficiently and effectively your body will actually function. And we know that what is inside of us is what comes forward, right? What is inside of us, what is inside of our thoughts becomes our words and actions. What we feel on the inside based on what we're meditating on, is what we project out, right? Whether it's disgust, or anxiety or fear, or gladness and appreciation and gratitude. Even the idea of correction, right? Receiving, and Chief has shared on this on many times, us coming on here and, as a woman, being free enough in my emotions to just share thoughts and to be fluid and to have a safe space to be in the moment, and knowing if I get it wrong, the body's got me, the collective's got me, and I will get right. I'll be gotten right, for that matter. And not taking that as some offense to my grand ego that will say, no, you know it, you know all the answers, but rather appreciating that I'm just one part of the body, right? I'm whole and complete in myself, just as a cell is whole and complete. It has all that it needs to function as a cell, but it also functions as a greater part of an organism. So with that, I will that you can really affirm, as we go through this today, that you can just affirm appreciation for every part of yourself, every part, right? Examining, why do I have these eyes and these hands and these feet and this, what was it? Long back, line back, whatever kind of back you may have. Why do I have it? Why are my shoulders so broad? How is that a part of my purpose? And how does my ability to accept, or my resistance to accepting that, propelling me closer to my purpose or impeding me from stepping further into purpose? And even impacting your ability to connect with community. Like, we look at the numbers on our videos, right? And then we kind of count up I know I do. I look at the analytics and kind of say, all right, there were these many people on, but only these many people participating. So it's like, who's sitting on the sidelines, wanting to pose a question or wanting to contribute or share or even offer gratitude for what they're receiving, but something keeps them tethered back. Something prevents that piston from firing. And how does that impact the trajectory of their journey? So these are all the things that came to mind. I'm going to go through quite a few scriptures, and the first one is Psalms 19:14. Thank you. Psalms 19:14 says, "Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Jehovah, my strength and my redeemer." So a lot of what the reason why I chose this particular passage has to do with the idea of all of the words, right? Before they even can come out of our mouth, they're first kind of germinating and percolating up here. But if we imagine that everything is sending a signal, right? It's the thought then sends a signal. And that makes me even think of in Mind Heart Words, or even in just sharing, Chief speaks to thoughts being things. And I never actually considered the things that it became first in the brain. But as soon as we have that initial spark of a thought, it's off. It's off and running. It's doing something. It's activating a series of communications, and it's expanding into this web that travels through your body faster than you can even quantify. There you go. That is a visual of neurons firing, right? So there's a sender and there's a receiver. And then in between those little yellow dots, that's like the information. So consider what your thoughts are, right? Let the words of my mouth. So those words, the words of my mouth, it's fine if you can, yeah. The words of my mouth, the word for mouth is peh, and in Hebrew. And peh in Hebrew, yes, it's the mouth or the open mouth, right? So if you think of an open mouth, usually an open mouth is giving or receiving something. And if you even look at that visual that was just placed, it actually looks like an open mouth, right? It's like this open little vortex communicating with this other little open little vortex, almost as if that's what's happening there, right? They're talking or they're communicating. But in scripture, peh could also be transliterated to mean like a well or a river. And of course, a well, I think of a well, the upper part. So there's something that's dug down. It's usually circular, and it's giving or in receiving, right? It might be receiving a receptacle to then give water up and out. So the quality of that water, the quantity even, is based on what is stored underneath or what it's being sourced from. So think about the sourcing of your thoughts and how that becomes the words that come out of your mouth, or that river, right? Sometimes women, of course, we are water, but the waters are so toxic and offensive and really filthy and unattractive, right? That all that can come out is that, because that's all we're waiting in. We're waiting in pools of or rivers of doubt and fear and negativity. And we should be aware of how that impacts what comes out of us. But oftentimes we're not even cautious or careful enough, or even concerned enough or compassionate enough to make that connection. So let the words of my mouth, so let peh, right? And the meditations of my heart be acceptable. So before the words can be acceptable, the thoughts have to be acceptable. And I know that, I'm using this and I'm talking about the words that you say, but it's also the things that you think on about yourself. And I want to keep focusing on that, what you think on for yourself, because when you choose community, and if you don't choose a community, one is chosen for you. So you're either snatched into a community or you walk graciously into the one that you are choosing, a more righteous community, willfully. But as you do that, you're bringing the totality of you. Whatever you got going on up here that's then spilling out of your mouth and spilling out in your behaviors, or flowing out of your mouth and flowing out gracefully through your behaviors. It's all based on whether your intention is really being pleasing, right? Having those things be pleasing. I also wanted to touch on the word meditation here, which is higayon. Now I'm going to pronounce it wrong. I said it right like 85 times. Higayon. And meditation in Hebrew is higayon. But that, like, we just did a meditation, right? And did it seem like music? Did it feel like music? Because higayon connects to, it's meditation, yes, but it connects to music, or even the sound of a harp. And I'm like, whoa. When I think of what is calming, right, or what is soothing, it is melodic. It is like that sound of the harp, or something, like soothing, a soothing tune or a soothing melody, or even I I did a yoga, my first yoga nidra recording, and my voice was intentional. Yes, it's my voice, you know, it's a way that I can speak, but it's like toning it down and making it something a bit more calming, to set a particular tone. And it's like, is that the voice that we use for ourselves? Sometimes I know when we talk about meditation, a person will say, you know, I can't meditate. My thoughts are racing, or I'm having these kind of thoughts, and they're disturbing. And in those instances, it's like, then meditation may not be the thing in that moment, or a still quiet meditation may not be the best thing for you. And I remember I think it was an old Chief Speaks. I know it was pretty old, where Chief interviewed a particular sister who was a friend of his, the mate of his friend. And she had questions about meditation, and what she was instructed to do was actually, or told to consider exploring, was dancing, because that was something that she really enjoyed doing. And when she did, it took her outside of her body, and it created an environment that would be consistent with meditation, or that fluidity that meditation should take you to. What's interesting is a meditation could also be considered a plot, right, or a storyline. And how many times do we have these thoughts in our head, and I know that's what's happening, and I know that's what's happening because this happened, and then this means this, and then that other thing means that, and so this all equals ... And none of it is true. None of it is true. But you've meditated on this thing, and you've fashioned this plot and this idea, and then that dictates the words that come out of your mouth. And that governs the emotions that you then pour all over your organs. And that's what's sending signals to the body. So then you're sending signals of stress and worry and fear. And then your body's pouring hormones to help, right? Help you with that. But really, it's like taking medicine when nothing's actually wrong. So you're completely throwing your body off balance based on a thought, based on what you're meditating on, based on maintaining a persistent storyline or plot in your mind's eye. And then it completely impacts what you're able to see. That is what I wanted to share about Psalms 19 and 14. So I'm just going to read it again. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Jehovah, my strength and my redeemer. So with strength, I thought this was interesting. So strength is sure, S-U-R, right? Right. Which is also like a rock. And when you think about strength and it being a rock, it's like this solid thing that you can lean upon or rest upon. And if we're acknowledging, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know what that sound was. If we're acknowledging that, hold on one second. Oh, I thought there was something happening on the background. If we're acknowledging that we're not the rock, right? We don't know why we were fashioned and formed a certain way. We can't lean on ourselves. Even yesterday, I believe, Chief Yu, I was speaking about, you know, how everyone should have a shepherd. You can't shepherd yourself. You'll be lost. Like if you think about it, when there is a shepherd, and even the shepherd has some assistants, right? Like I know there's usually dogs that kind of may work with the shepherd. At least that's what I remember seeing, to kind of keep all of the sheep in line, right? To make sure the one doesn't just go off on its own. Imagine that one sheep that chooses to or tries to go off on its own. Like I'm just gonna shepherd myself. You're gonna be lost. trying to figure out where your food is coming from, where your meals are coming from, where your liberty is coming from, because you're no longer following the leader, following that shepherd who's guiding and instructing and directing you. That's that strength. That's that rock. And then that's also the Redeemer. And the idea of the Redeemer is actually to buy back. And I was like, buy back. What is that? What does that even mean? But then I started considering redemption, like the sheepdog. The sheepdog. I'm reading the chat. I'm sorry. I have to stop doing that. I'm very easily distracted. But when you redeem a coupon, that's what I thought of. Redeeming a coupon means that you could, instead of something costing, let's say $1, now costs 50 cents. That coupon that you're redeeming bought back some of the cost, right? So our Redeemer is buying back the cost, right? And so one example of that is the word Redeemer is often used to describe our Yah as a redeemer of men, right? Or specifically Israel, like out of slavery. So it's like, I get you out. I'll almost like I'll be your bail bondsman. And maybe that's a bad analogy too, because I don't know much about that. But it's like I'll redeem you. I'll give you the opportunity to get out and to get right. And so it's like, lean on me. I'll be the one to get you right and get you out. But first, your words and what you're meditating on, which you're focused on, needs to be pleasing to me, needs to be in alignment. So it's like we have to do something before we can lean upon anything or even have our physicality redeemed. So, okay, so now we have, I'm going to go into conceptualizing. So firing on all cylinders gives the visual of synapses, which I touched on earlier. But I have like a little like video that or actually the image that was shared earlier. So when I think of the nerves, right? So the nerves serve as a link between neurons. The image can go back up. That's cool. The nerve cells serve as a link between neurons, right? So if we think of those little yellow dots as communications, they're sending and receiving electrical signals. So when we all spoke about, fire on all cylinders, somehow connecting to electricity, that's exactly what's happening within our body. There's actually a web of electrical communication. And that web looks just like the visual that was on the screen during the meditation earlier. There's this intricate series of links that are being made. And that's how I want you to think about what's happening with each thought. Each and anything. Each time we breathe in, which isn't even a thought, that's something that happens automatically. I don't know what's happening in the chat. But that's what I want you to consider. This is actually the idea of a chain reaction, right? That leads the body to having like a physical response. And that all begins, like I said, with the thought. So the brain's decision to send a signal happens like in milliseconds. So consider all of the thoughts that travel through your mind and what your web may look like, what that web of communication and connectivity might look like. How many signals are you sending in a given moment? Consider the meditation again and where it took you to, or how relaxed you were able to, perhaps if you were able to engage in the visualization, how relaxed you were able to become in those few moments. Or even how on edge you can become in a given moment based on having a thought or having a peaceful jog. And then as you come around the bend, there's a dog just there barking. And it sends your body into immediate fight, flight, or freeze, I think it's freeze or frenzy mode. And how quickly you respond in that moment. That's like a small example of how quickly this process that's on the screen is happening. So consider the thought and the associated signals in the body. I wanna just remind you, and again, if you won't, just come on, jump in. Actually, before I send the reminder, let me just go through this chat because there's some stuff going on here. Go ahead, Aki Zach. I'll go to the chat.
Okay, yeah. So while you do that, a couple things when you were speaking about that made me think of, going back to the sports analogy of is one comfortable with, the role that they have on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And in a sense, like one can say, I don't want to play running back. I want to be on the offensive line, or I don't want to play safety. I want to play D tackle. And though one may show a lot of heart, though one may have a lot of tenacity and want, physically one is not going to be able to perform over a long period of time. It may be like, oh yeah, because I did it one game, I could do it for 16 games,
Mm-hmm.
or I could do it for multiple seasons. And it's like you're not built nor designed to play that position. So what is it that you have that ultimately will help to propel the team forward, and best to help propel what your physical attributes that you have that will actually help to propel you forward? And then when one can start to make some of those distinctions of, okay, and that's what people love to do now, is because, well, I don't think it's fair, is what a lot of people lean on. It's not fair that they get to play this position and I don't get to play this position. So I'm going to go play that position. But meanwhile, somebody's only allowing you to play that position and you really haven't earned it. It's like if somebody really was to turn on and use what some would say, throw around their weight, they would hurt somebody who was a smaller person. But now it's like, how are they supposed to react when this happens and the world is looking like, oh, come on now, you're just a bigger person. Now, when you play in sports, you can run them over, or what they call bang, like you can let them have it. But now when you get out to the real world, now it's like, oh, you're the bigger person. You're supposed to show some restraint. You're supposed to now know that, that person is smaller than you, or they can't defend themselves, But what about the person then who chose to step into the arena? Are they not supposed to now have some type of accountability of saying that, I chose to step in front of a 300-pound man.
Mm-hmm.
So now, therefore, this is what's going to happen. So now I'm not able to fire on all cylinders because I don't actually measure up. But if I did measure up in a different group or a different setting, then I'm able to fire on cylinders. Now, how can I start to fire on all cylinders is ultimately now is where I start to look at, even in the sense of religion, where sometimes, it's hard to have a deeper conversation or to go beyond certain things when one is not doing what's right in front of them, like, washing your hands, or just saying, excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
cut somebody off, or saying thank you when somebody gives you something. So now it's like, okay, before that, I got to give you the mind. Ultimately, what I would think religion would be about is giving you the mind of the Creator, or giving you, let me just give you certain basic steps to get you now to move to study this playbook, so that therefore when you're presented with different options in the real world and plays are coming at you, you're able to react from what this playbook says, so that you don't start to now make your own decisions and wondering why things are not working out for you, or wondering why you feel so heavy, or wondering why you don't have favorable outcomes. So now here we go. If I give you certain plays, you'll start to have certain reactions. Now, if you know these plays well enough, then yeah, eventually it's almost like trying an altar. When Chief said, eventually you should give this book to a child. This is not something that you should stay stuck at, because ultimately then now it's like, you got to graduate. But some people don't want to graduate. I'm going to stay stuck on this book, and it has to be, everything is designed in this book, and I can only look at this one book. Well, no, the book was there to give you step one. Now let's go to step two. And then when one can start to move to step two and step three, though, you can't go beyond that until you know the basic addition and subtraction. You can't go to trigonometry and geometry and all these other certain things that people want to skip steps to get to, because they didn't do the basic fundamentals of what was required for them to learn stage one. And then all of a sudden, now it's like you want to use all these big elaborate words of saying that, the metaverse and metaphysics and, and then something basic comes along like love, and you say, what is that? Well, that means something different to everybody, which is just somebody saying that they don't know. But because now their ego is so inflated, now it's like you can't tell somebody anything, because you don't want to be figured out like, oh man, this person has my number, which is why certain people, even in plays or even when we hear like Chief speaks or anything like that, when Chief says, oh no, that's not you, then now that's when all of a sudden they flare up or they get mad. Or some people, even in our news, when like, you know what, I got work to do, I got this going on, I'm going to pull back a little bit. It's not that I'm going to pull back a little bit, it's just that now y'all are seeing me, and you're calling out some of these things that I said that I was standing on, that really I'm standing on my emotions, and really I'm not standing on knowledge. That's not allowing me to fire on all cylinders. So yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Right. Instead, you're doing, like Chief said, you're leaking, right? You're leaking, and then that becomes your tell. Like what is actually inside of you is coming out slowly, and then it's seen, it's recognized. Yeah, I thank you for that. Thank you for that analogy. It's interesting when we're not even encouraged to appreciate what we are, but yet we're trying to be or do what we perceive someone else as being or doing, and never thinking, well, that's not my thing. And you know what? I might shoot my eye out. Like I don't need a BB gun. I just might shoot my eye out. And I might need those eyes, because maybe that's more important than learning how to use that BB gun. So it's like, yeah, we have to kind of stay in our own lane, right? That becomes the charge of the challenge. Just going to the chat, Master Manalek in response to you says, onlookers never seem to see the need to intervene until that large person actually responds to the Chihuahua. Yes. Indeed. And oftentimes, you know what, the large person isn't even a person, right? It could be a thought, or the outcome of a thought, or having those thoughts actually manifest. I remember in another podcast, Chief was speaking about a person walking across a tightrope, but consistently they're saying, I know I'm going to fall. I know I'm going to fall. I know this is going to happen. I know I'm going to fall. And then they fall. But it's like, what else do you think would happen? You weren't even considering that it was actually possible, that it is possible, that you are equipped perfectly with what you have to accomplish the goal in front of you. But rather maybe you're saying, well, I need the feet of the other person that went before me, and they only did it really well because they had this thing. So kind of I guess the other side of the coin of what you're saying, there's like putting yourself in a position to want something or to do a particular thing that you ain't made for that, right? But then there is that other piece of not being able to step into what you were fashioned for, what you were made for. And I might be skipping around a little bit, but there is this idea that we don't really know, right? We like Chifa said, we walk around with this question mark over our head, and ultimately the existence is like, what's the answer? How do I figure this out? And it made me think of some of the pros of right functioning and right thinking. And it begins with having a reverence for one's form, right? And our subsequent function. So it's not saying things. So I actually had a quote that I wanted us to consider. It's like, if we were to have a thought that, I'm grateful for the ability to think and discern in a manner pleasing to my creator. Just that alone, right? I'm grateful for the ability to think and discern in a manner that can be pleasing to my creator. Just focusing on that, being grateful for the ability to think, the ability to be present in the moment, or being thankful for maybe the part of yourself, like your physical self, that you have to grow in an appreciation for. And in so doing, you then get a sense of why this thing is this way, and how it's actually to aid you on your journey. So it puts some dots, right? It's like the breadcrumbs that take you from this question mark to, oh, I should be going in this direction. I speak this way, or I have this voice. And in one environment, it may be ridiculed and mocked, but in the right environment, it fills a room. And those people find it edifying and helpful. So it's like, if I don't appreciate what I've been given, I'm going to take how it's been attacked. And we know that our greatest gifts are often attacked, right? And early on, if we connect with choosing shame or wanting to hide that thing, or place it under a lampshade, right? Then we're like dimming that light, and we're not allowing it to even be exercised or accessed properly. And so it's like, we can take on the thought of being grateful for the ability to think and discern, period. Or we can send that signal similar to what you just shared, Akizak, like, yeah, I might not be made for this, but I want to do what Zach's doing. I want to do that. I want to get on and say greetings and salutation and come with that fire when sharing scriptures. And I'm just going to emulate him, and not emulating in a way where someone is using you as a blueprint and allowing themselves to be brought forward, but really just trying to be you, as if that's even possible. And it's like, well, when you think about how we all may do that from time to time, how does that impede us from moving forward with the mission? Or even how Chief said, using the information and moving on it immediately. I know we've acknowledged how many times we had to be told to do a particular thing. And it's like, oh, is that what I'm supposed to do? But then when you finally move into it or move on it, you realize this wasn't even the ultimate goal. Like, this was just one step. I don't know how many steps there are in the process, nor am I supposed to know. And so that makes me think of, or that made me think or consider Ecclesiastes 11:5. And that says, as thou knowest not what is the way of the spirit, nor how the bones do grow in the womb of her that is with child, even so thou knowest not the works of the Elohim who maketh all. I'm not going to break down all of the words here, or as many of the words here, but I wanted to just go into the way. As thou knowest not what is the way. The way is direct, right? The road or the journey. So you don't know the journey that has been set for you. Just like you don't know how the bones grow in the womb of a woman that is pregnant. You don't know how that's all happening. And so it's like to kind of want to figure that out instead of just letting the bones grow and knowing that this thought will be formed and will come forward, and allowing it to take on the life that was intended for it. That's really ultimately what the goal is. So if you're told, even if I'm told, your purpose is to be, simply to be. Your purpose right now, and my purpose right now in this moment, is to facilitate this journey that you all are participating in or on with me, right? That's it. It's not to make a phone call. It's not to prepare food. It's not to make a yoga video. It is to literally be in the moment right here, reading the chat, engaging with you all. If I'm told that's my purpose, I may say, well, is that it? Well, isn't purpose connected to something bigger than the moment? But maybe not. You know, I don't have an answer. But I do have Ecclesiastes 11:5, right? As I know it's not what is the way of the spirit, right? Nor how the bones grow. But it's like, even how thou knowest not the works of the Elohim. So the works are the business. So it made me think about, like, mind your business, right? Like, don't worry about what's going on over here. Worry about what I'm instructing you to do. Be about that. Move fervently in what's being instructed for you to do in that moment. And don't get caught up in being an impediment to the right cylinders firing. Because you can, I guess in theory, based on how Chief described it, you'll be functioning in a diminished capacity, right? So you can fire on a couple of cylinders and just have, I know cylinders, just do cylinders. I don't want to mess it up, but I'm still gonna shoot for the stars, baby. Do cylinders have to do with horsepower? Yeah, like V8 or V6. Yes, it does. It does. I think. Like, I know it has to do with the power of the car. What you got? Somebody say something? Oh, I thought somebody unmuted.
Yeah, it's right.
Yes. Okay. So it's like, I like big cars, right? And so I know the difference between, like, I've had a car that was a V8 versus I think I even drove a V12, like a pickup truck. The power as compared to, I've also had like, I don't even think it's called V4, like they, which is funny. They don't even like put that on the little bumper when it's a V4. But if you open the hood, you'll see you have a V4 engine, and maybe like a Dodge Neon. I think when I had a RDX, I think that might have been a V4. I know it wasn't a V6, but it's like, if you drive that.
Not because of the power. Let's fix something for a second.
Oh wait, go ahead.
Yeah, while you're over here crapping all over 4-cylinder cars, let's fix that a little bit. the V is not because it's like, oh, this is the powerful. It's no. The V, it stands for actually VEE, V, and it's a design. It's the shape of the engine. So when you have a lot of times a 4-cylinder, you could have a V4, but a lot of times when you have a 4-cylinder, it can be designed a certain way where it's straight across, where your cylinders are straight across. Whereas with a V engine, it's literally shaped like a V. If you look at it from the front, and you'll have, let's say, 3 on one side and 3 on the other. So it's just a design where the pistons are aligned in a different formation, and sometimes this is just for space reasons. But also, a 4-cylinder engine gets better fuel.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there's advantages to a 4-cylinder, and then you have some 4-cylinder engines that beat the mess out of a 6-cylinder engine, depending on how it's torqued. So the cylinders do have something
twerked.
Power. Torqued. Torque. Torqued. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, depending on what the torque is like, you know, don't go by the cylinders tell you something, but there's other things involved in it. I have a motorcycle that has 2 cylinders, and the only thing that could catch that bike is maybe a Porsche, and it's only got 2 cylinders, right? But you know, so there's other factors that are involved.
All right. Yeah. Shoot for the stars, and then you learn some things. Thank you.
I don't think that's what Donnie Simpson meant. He said shoot for the moon. If you miss, you land among the stars.
You might land among the stars. All right.
Shoot for the stars and miss, you didn't go anywhere.
Just in that big black galaxy. Yes.
Yeah, just in the
air. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. Wow. And even based on what you just helped me understand, being that 4-cylinder vehicle and not appreciating what makes you an asset and willing to be that V12 truck and is a part of the challenge, right? It's a part of what, and I saw somebody said it, I think Akilo, who said it? Somebody says, okay, it's like Scar wanting Mufasa's position, but not being interested in being a responsible king. He didn't go through the journey. He just wanted to skip to step 3. Right. And then there was a lot of dialogue. I apologize. I see onlooker. I tell you, I'm like a one-track mind person. Okay. Some people want to stay in Neverland and be a lost boy. They don't want to come back to the real world and grow up. Absolutely. And it's only in the real world that we get to have the experience of growing up, right? So you can dream about it, you can fantasize about it, but we're in these vessels to accomplish a particular thing. So yeah, we have to stick to our ministry, but we even have to know what our ministry is. It's like Okoti Yafe was attempting one day to teach me how to do beading. She makes it look very easy. She makes beautiful jewelry. In particular, I love the earrings that she makes. And I thought they were like already strung and you just kind of like knot them and tie them together. Man, when this woman pulled out all matter of boxes of minuscule beads, my eyes don't even work that way. I was like, what's happening here? Why are there so many things? And I had to say, this is not my ministry. I'm not even going to attempt to do this because it's just not my thing. Now, there are other things that, that I'm instructed to do that is kind of like, I'm nervous and I'm not sure that it would be something that I would enjoy. And then I'm like fully in it, like being a carpenter. Yeah, I said it. Like being a carpenter.
You like being where? In like your dreams?
In my garage.
Okay. You know what? It's your show.
It's my show. That's right. Okay. I say what I want. Exploring the art of carpentry by way of making a single project. Yes. Being a carpenter. So yeah, but it is important to stick to our ministry. And the only way to do that is really to be exposed to different things and to appreciate that, you know what? Okoti Yafe may sit on a Sabbath evening or afternoon and make beautiful earrings. And that's just a part of her, what she's made for, her skill set and a part of her body, right? And even a part of what she's to bring, as Yafe to the community, the community of Anu and the community at large. And appreciating that, yeah, but that's not my thing. And it doesn't have to be. Like, I can still fully appreciate, respect, and offer reverence and gratitude for what she brings, without it being what I need to do and what I need to bring or what I want to do or want to bring, and get stuck in those loops, which then keep me further away from my ministry. And as Akizak says, that's imposter syndrome. Yeah. And a lot of what we discussed yesterday in beauty, or not, what is natural beauty. While we didn't really touch on it much, one of the thoughts that I had was how much of what these people, not just women, men and women, were doing, has to do with a level of body dysmorphia, or imposter syndrome, and we didn't get into it, but I just wanted to, strongly suggest, if you didn't watch that video, to go back and watch it and really consider all of the ways that could be you, because it's been each of us at some point, and it might be even today, each of us, right? And it's important that you're able to at least acknowledge that, so that you can receive right medicine. Period. Yeah, and perfectly on time. Ema says, and that's the benefit of being in a community. I can stay in my lane and do what I do, but be supportive of my sisters and brothers and participate in what they do. Yep, without wanting to do what they do. Absolutely. Listen, y'all, I crochet. Like, I can make a scarf. That's it. So you have never heard me say, oh yeah, I could do stuff. I could crochet like Naya made it. No, sir. No, ma'am. I cannot. Not only is that not what I am going to say, I'm going to support what she does, and what she creates. So Master Menelik says, trying to take on Zach's role means, right, means I have to take on everything Aki Zach has to deal with. Yeah, on the back end. Yep, that's true. And be responsible enough to support what he does. You ain't built for that. It's so true. That's so true. Number one, you don't even get a sense of what the back end looks like, right? You don't know what goes on behind the scenes. You don't know the level of spiritual anchoring that is required for him to even be all that he is to be. We often just look at what we see in the front, what we see on the surface, and can't appreciate the rest, which then makes us take it for granted, right? You take for granted, I could do that. All he does is run off a couple of scriptures and, give a, come on every couple of strongs and give a message. No, that's not it. That's not all there is to it. So thank you for even saying that, Master Menelik. I already touched on read the piece about Scar. And I'm just checking to make sure I didn't have anybody waiting on Clubhouse. Okay. Go ahead, Aki Zach.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add a couple things. One, when you were just speaking about just, what is your ministry, or what is your role, or what is your position, and play that position well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm because we started off with,
football, baby. Hut.
Yeah, all of that. Oh man, okay. But like when you're on defense, one of the things that a lot of coaches will tell you, you got to be gap sound, right? And if one, you try to play somebody else or do somebody else's job, and you go over and the film comes back on, it's like, what gap did they go through in order to, advance the ball or get a touchdown or whatever the case may be? And you start to see some people, when they're not taking their craft seriously, or they're not studying film, or they're not studying tape, then it's like, now maybe the offense will come out in a 3-by-1 with 3 receivers lined up to the left and one on the. They only run a certain amount of plays out of certain positions. Out of certain formations. So if you see a 3-by-1, then you can already break it down into maybe 2 different plays. Like, all right, they're either going to do one. They either run the shovel pass out of this, or they're going to run a zone out of this, whatever the case may be. But when somebody is not knowing their role and not studying their position, then they're looking at this formation and be like, oh, they can do a million things, but they don't do a million things out of that. But when you start to think of the million things in your head, then now all of a sudden you begin to freeze. And when you begin to freeze, now it's like you can't fire on all cylinders because you're thinking of 15 million different things. Mm-hmm. Because one now has to be emotional about something, which now puts one into that Alice in Wonderland. Whereas instead is, you know what, when you start having a conversation with Chief, you start listening to, all of the multiple broadcasts that are done, it starts to pull one out of that Alice in Wonderland and starts like, oh, it could be this, or is somebody saying this, and having those emotions start to run rampant. It's like, you know what, it's not that, because now I'm firing on all cylinders because I'm just playing my position. I'm playing my role, and I'm making sure that it's gap sound in the community, and I'm doing what was required of me, as opposed to trying to step out of that and me trying to do somebody else's job, or me trying to emulate somebody else. I can't do what they're like. If we go back to one of the greatest movies ever. The Lion King. And when Rafiki cracked my man Simba over the head, and he was like, man, but he was asking him, no, who are you? And he said, no, the question is, who are you? Right. Because you're living a whole different life out here. You're not fulfilling what you were actually destined to do, man. And you don't know your purpose anymore. You've come with a whole different culture that now all of a sudden you're thinking that you can just get away with this stuff, but then, man, it's gonna find you. Do you know who you are? Now the question is, do you not, like, really what it boils down to me, like, do you know your life purpose? Mm-hmm. Do you know, like, you know what? This is the question that I came down here to answer, and this is how, I'm gonna fulfill that. Like, or is it, you know what? I'd rather not know that, because if I don't know that, then I don't have to hold myself accountable for something. So now it's like, well, I did the best that I could, and now I don't never really have to know. I've actually had people who said that they don't want to speak to Chief because they've say something that they're gonna have to stop doing, and they're not ready. Oh, it's like that one show too that she was like, my man who didn't want to. He's like, I don't want to.
Heavy D, yeah, right. Yeah. Right. I was like, nope.
And but it's a matter of, do you want change? Do you want to be totally sold out and committed to what your purpose is? So now you're not wondering what different plays of this world or the government or what they doing, or everything now is about race. When is it not about race? And now you become so blinded by your emotions that you don't have no ability to see the truth of really what's going on, because you like, you know what, I don't want to fire on all cylinders. I want to fire on all cylinders from a group that's speaking through me, but ultimately doesn't want anything of my best interest, so I can start to stand up and be what I was called to be. So I think it's if one, you just have to commit to it, and if one can commit to it, like I always say, gotta be in you.
I don't want that.
That's exactly what you say, brother. Since you was 5 years old.
5 years old.
You used to be in preschool. Tapping other children on the shoulder. Hey, man, let me tell you something.
Hey, man. Hey, brother.
And on you, all right? I clean up that glue. You got glue all over the front of your shirt. You gotta eat it. Don't put on your glue. Yeah.
Hey, I don't know what to do at this point. I said it wasn't my.
You literally have more supporters on your side than I do. This doesn't even make sense. You got more people saying that's your phrase than say, and I done put it in podcasts. Hey, ain't no problem. That's all right. Hey, man, I'll come up with something else. I said, it's beyond me at this point. Yeah, I know. It's just taking wrong legs. All right. Well, in the words of Aki Yakira, I'm done.
Well, thank you for all of that. What you touched on made me, well, you more than touched on it. It just it made me consider the idea of being a slave to our purpose, and how being tethered to that is something that we don't need to be redeemed from. Like that is ultimately what we're here for. And once we're clear on what our purpose is, we get to pour all of our talents, all of our being, right, into our purpose, because then we don't have to worry about how anything is aligning, because we're moving knowing that it will be in alignment. I'm doing what I've been instructed to do, and that's that. As opposed to, I'm gonna try to do what Aki Zach does. So let me go. I gotta constantly go check. Well, what's he doing now? All right, so he shaved his beard like this. Okay, so I need to now do this. Okay, so he's studying this. So I heard on a podcast now he's, pursuing this degree, or he's sharing. It's like you're constantly trying to play catch up with something that wasn't even in your lane. You weren't even supposed to be on that track. Period. Period. And so I want to, and thank you, Kotiafe, for reminding me that Clubhouse has a chat. So let me get on over to the Clubhouse chat to just read some of the comments. So really, really early on, during the visualization, Shirley answered the question, and she said she thinks of action. So the idea of firing on all cylinders, she thought of action. And because it's all 4 cylinders, I also think of balance and harmony. So yeah, so there's 4 cylinders, 6, 8, 12. I'm sure there's even more than that for like bigger cars. But yes, thank you for that. Greetings, Aki. Darian, he says, firing on all cylinders leads me to think about perfect alignment and seamless movement. Yeah, enabling perfect use of power. So what you're saying here makes me think of what you shared, allowing instruction and direction to like move you forward. And then you're like constantly moving forward based on what's being sent to you, based on the signals that are being sent to you. Go explore this, or consider that, or go in this direction, or you need to start, yada, yada, yada. Each of us know how many things are sent our way, and really our potential for, I would say, even actualization would be based upon how we move with that or not. So thank you for that. Chief mentioned the crankshaft makes me think about unity as well, because it fires on all cylinders. Everything has to be perfectly balanced and timed. Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to Google. I'm gonna have to look up, like, just look at an image. I think, I'm a visual learner. So if I look at the image of the crankshaft, I'll get a better understanding. And then it looks like that's it. And then Aki Jason says, less weight to move, less cylinders needed. Okay. Yeah, I wondered about that. Less weight to move, less cylinders needed. So when Chief was speaking about the 2-cylinder motorcycle, its speed, I still want to understand this. So the speed is based on what then? Because it's like, I'm thinking because it's smaller and lighter, it can move faster. But to keep up with the Porsche, what does that if it only has 2 cylinders?
It's first of all.
Come on now, don't be.
You don't even need to know.
I need to know. I might be vroom vrooming.
You're never gonna need this information. What you gonna need this for?
Vroom vroom.
Right, exactly. Just for that.
seconds, baby.
Stop and go. Stop and go. So, I mean, there's many things that make a vehicle fast. And, you know, it's the first thing is who's driving it.
Me.
That's the very first thing. It's who's driving it, you know. But yeah, there's a weight to power distribution that goes on, right? So, for instance, you were talking about 4-cylinders. One of the fastest bikes that I own, and I've been riding these since they first came out in 06, is a Suzuki Hayabusa. And that bike, my Hayabusa, only has 4 cylinders, but it's a very heavy bike, right? So what we call the line. The line is like where you first take off, where you first start. So off the line, I have bikes that will move faster than it, or what we call quicker. Mm-hmm. So some things are quick and some things are fast. The Hayabusa is fast. I think I've topped out on that bike at about 190 miles per hour, somewhere around there, up in upstate New York one day, right? But I have other bikes that may top out at 150, 160. But coming off the line, they're faster because they may be torqued higher, right? So the torque is like, picture somebody like, you know, you might have, like, sometimes small people are like this. They're real jumpy and real froggy, you know. Matter of fact, there's a guy I'm training now. He's a fighter. He's small, Mexican dude. He's super small, but he's like crazy froggy. Now, I'm not a froggy fighter. I've never been a froggy fighter like that. Partly probably because I'm flat-footed, but he's like all over. So his torque is higher. When he jumps up to hit, he jumps up with his whole body, you know. So he's highly torqued. There's a lot coming off the line at first, right? So that could be like a fast thing. Now, he's not as powerful as I am, or I got him and another guy I'm training. The other guy I'm training is like 6'2", you know, real long arms. But my froggy guy, he's always beating him up, right? You know, because he tries to, this goes to Zach's example, because he tries to fight like him. And I have told him before, like, you can't fight like him. He's like, what, 5, maybe 5'7", somewhere around there, 5'7", 5'6", just compressed. He's just like one big, he's like a knuckle. His whole body and face, even his face his whole face looked like a balled up fist. He's just all muscle, you know. So I'm like, you can't do nothing with that, man. He was built for this. He wasn't built, he can't do nothing else in life but hit and be hit, right? So you learn each other's fight. So it's the same thing with vehicles. There's so many other factors that go into making something fast, or because you have fast and then you have powerful. You have American muscle cars or even trucks. You know, a Dodge Ram, for instance, is a powerful vehicle. It can tow a lot, has a heavy tow load. It may be able to tow, you know, 4,000 pounds, you know, but it may not be faster than a Toyota Supra or, you know, or Maxima. You know, one of those cars might eat it up, but they don't have the same kind of power. So each thing is built for something different, and you got to get that's a part of knowing how to fire on all cylinders. I'll give a great example of this. When I back in 06, the Hayabusas came out in 06, and when they came out, they were the fastest bike on the market, the fastest stock bike you could buy. There was nothing faster. So I was like, I gotta have one of those, right? 1,300 cc's. And then Kawasaki came out with a KZ 1400, but that was like later. So, but the Hayabusa was the king. So I copped the Hayabusa, and I had a friend at the time who was riding an 1100. You know, he's since transitioned, and this part of the story is important. So he was riding the older bike. It was an 1100, and I let him get on my bike once. We in the park. Yeah, you know, you like it. He took it about 30 feet and then came back. He was like, this isn't for me. And I was like, what's that? He was like, this is too much. This is way too much. I was like, yo, it only goes as fast as you tell it to go, right? But she was like, get back on my bike, right? Now, mind you, my friend about 6'3", 300 plus, 300 something, but big dude. And I mean, I'm not small, but I'm not that big, but my mentality lends towards power. I like things that are like I'd ride a bull every day to the supermarket if I could. I like things that are big, strong, and powerful, and I adjust and I harmonize better with things like that. That's why I play big instruments. I play drums. I play bass. I play, I like piano, but I want a big piano. I have trouble with things that are small, even spiritually. I wasn't as good with herbs, or I'm not as good with herbs as I am with crystals and bigger objects, or a tree, or things like that, or take me to the whole river. So it's learning how to sympathetically resonate, find your resonance as well, in order to be able to fire on cylinders. Mm-hmm. So give you an example. This same friend who since transitioned, I had two friends this happened to. And one recently, this is about a year or two ago, he was like an uncle to me. He actually died. My friend had a heart attack on a bike. He was riding his bike, and he got a faster bike. And I was like, yeah, you probably need to stay in that lane where you're at. He went and got a bigger bike, literally had a heart attack on the bike, coming around a corner, and just completely wrecked himself. Obviously, the bike was destroyed, and he ended up in the hospital, and he later died, from heart issues as well. And I have a friend recently was riding his bike, and I wasn't playing the ukulele on the my daughter plays a mean ukulele though. She can play, but that's not my ministry. But yeah, he had a heart attack on his bike and died. And we had a conversation like a strong before that happened. And we were talking about health. And I was sharing with him, I was like, yeah, riding long-term, lifetime, it has a serious effect on your heart. My own father had heart complications as a result of being a lifelong rider. He developed fluid around the heart, but I was sharing that with him, and sure enough, about 7-8 days later, gone. So you got to know, like it's kind of like what Zach was talking about, the positions. You got to know your position. You got to know what's for you. I know if I had a little quick bike, you'd probably be peeling me off the sidewalk. Like that's not for me. Big, strong, crazy bikes, they probably humble me. That's probably why I ride them all the time. And also knowing how to synchronize yourself with the energy that you've been that is surrounding your life condition is a large part of knowing where you should be in your relationships to the planets, the relationships to other humans, to the stellar environment. All of these things are the sciences that help you to employ your touch and your smell and your hearing and your sight. And knowing those sciences, I think, really help you. Just like knowing the sciences of the engine or knowing the sciences of yourself, it helps you to fire on all cylinders. Keep in mind, like the root of the word science is sire, and sire means to discern or to know. So when you're able to science something up or to discern something, you're knowing or you're acknowledging, what the abstract mind or what the soul is kind of perceiving intuitively and synthetically and inclusively, So I just would add that as far as firing on cylinders. You got to know, even down to like, there's certain cars and bikes, certain colors I will not ride because I know that it doesn't speak favorably to my system. And these are how you learn to fire. Once you learn like your systems, you start to learn like, okay, like how does topaz relate to the pituitary? How does emerald relate to the thyroid, or the thyroid relate to your active intelligence? How does love relate to indigo? And that relates itself to Jupiter or to sapphire. These are your cylinders, and you start to learn to create a compressed sort of center. Even your abstract idealism. How does that relate to the solar plexus and the pancreas? And the energy of Neptune and Ruby. So even your colors and your planets are giving you an opportunity to see different viewpoints, so you can be in a certain harmonic vibration. So everything's firing at the intensity that it's supposed to, and with the efficiency that's supposed to. And most importantly, when you're dealing with cylinders, is timing. Mm-hmm. They function on a certain timing, and when your timing is off, you'll hear it. You'll hear your valves clapping. You get more dark smoke out of the back of your car and things like that, because you've kind of lost that rhythm. You've lost that juice, if you will, and your engine is not reasoning certain processes the ways that it's supposed to. So.
Thank you for that. Man. Okay, so when you touched on the idea that cylinders, or being able to kind of figure out how you align with your environment, or what in your environment is aligned with you, it means that we have to really take the time to connect, right? To connect with, which is also love, but to connect with the things in our environment, and to begin to discern, well, what doesn't work, what colors, what sensations, what experiences are not in alignment with us, so that we're not impeded by those things. Yeah, so that like takes us out of that mindset of consumerism, even, because everything tells you that you need it and you want it, and it's all going to add to your enhancement, or your growth, or your benefit. So if you're vegan, sure, you can be vegan, but you can still have meat, and then it'll be impossible to believe that this could possibly be healthy for you. Impossible. And then it's right in the name. This is impossible. But if you don't understand that, you know what? No. Eating this way aligns with what works best for my body, or this machine, would mean that maybe I'm not participating in the other things that may be identified that really isn't a fruit or a vegetable. And I know for myself, even appreciating that while I may want to have these long protracted experiences, I call it a romance, with eating raw food or just having smoothies, it doesn't work for me. Like, my body literally wants warm food. And so it's like I have to honor that, and then explore, like, well, why would that be? What is it about that? And then respect it so that I don't get sick trying to do what someone else can do seamlessly, but rather honor, what my machine needs. Jason, I'm in the chat, so I don't know. Did someone unmute?
I did, but if you want to flow from the chat, then I can wait.
No, go ahead. I'll do it after.
When you just said, even like, respect it, right? And it's so much that just goes on, from respecting one's journey and respecting another person's journey, and honoring where they're at in their walk, and honoring where you're at in your walk.
Right.
And being able to see that. And I think that's just seeing how much, I always say, like, man, there's no pressure on me. And I always look at where Chief is, and, you know, when you want to put together something like what we're doing right now, people are going to come for you. From all different walks to try to show how much they know, or let me challenge, you know, let me show you I studied this last night and I'm going to present it right now. And you got to, and if you see anytime, I mean, if she feels like engaging or whatever, like, I'm going to show you what you're talking about doesn't make any sense. But you got to be ready, right? And from all different angles, you got to be able to know inside and outside. You got to be able to know. Now, everybody's not built for that. Just like everybody's not built to play D-line. You're going to get yourself banged up down there, right? Like, I'm not built for this.
Defensive line? D-line?
D-line, yeah. That's
yes.
Yes. Ready to coach now.
Right. Give me the whistle, baby. Give me the whistle. I'm on it.
Yeah, and certain people are designed for certain things, and if one is not totally accepting of what they were designed to do, then they're gonna start to think, well, I'm gonna walk into this arena. Well, when you walk into that arena, don't be surprised then when other people start to come challenge you. Then don't be a victim. It's easy now. That's when people start to say, oh, this is happening to me. Oh, this is going on now. And now you're not a victim. It's just you didn't honor your own walk. You didn't honor your own journey, and you're not honoring somebody else's journey. So this is now even why I start to think of to whom much is given, much is required. Because now it's like, you have to see where other people are at, and I just can't now just bang you over the head with a bunch of information, because this now is not going to be a conversation. It's going to be a confrontation. So now, how much does one even have to hold back when they start to see where somebody is at on their journey? And just, I'm going to give you, or as Chief has said before, you can't feed a baby meat. You have to feed a baby milk. And so now, do you know how to mince the food up in order for somebody to digest it, which now even requires more work on somebody's path and on their journey? But it's like, nah, I'm skipping all of these steps, and I just want to, I want to do what that person does. I want to be in that person's position, but not knowing what does it take for that person to fire on all cylinders. And sometimes it takes for that person to remove themselves from everybody from time to time to fire on all cylinders. And then it's like, whoa, hold on now. When I need you, you're not there. When I need you, there's enough there for one to feed on. For you to fire on 1 cylinder, 6 cylinder, 7, whatever the case, how many cylinders you're running on. But are you focused on that, or are you more focused on, like you said earlier, is like, you're not supposed to look down, but all my attention goes on looking down. So that's all that I'm thinking about. Right. Well, is all your attention just focused on what somebody else is doing and what their position is? So now all you're thinking, you're losing what you're supposed to be doing because all your attention is on them. Or can you put your attention on them to gain what it is that you need to gain in order to play your position? Which starts to become a fine line, but which some people, I think, begin to lose. It's like, you're supposed to learn from others that are along the path. You don't do the same mistakes that they've made, but ultimately, they're giving you the playbook. Now, are they giving you methods, or are they giving you codes? Because now that starts to come into a whole different line, which Chief broke that down. I forgot which segment exactly that was, but nonetheless, yeah, that's all I wanted to add.
Oh, you ain't say that one.
Yeah, so since I was 6 now.
But you didn't say it so much, you don't forgot it. You forgot where you said it.
It's been a little longer to learn now. I had to get a whole other year under my belt.
Oh, you know what's funny? You know, Zach was just speaking. It's, you know, like he was saying, like, yeah, you may want someone's position, or you covet it, not really understanding what comes along with it. And if you're built, everybody's built for their position, you know, and trying to move outside of that, you'll go through a certain level of distortion within yourself, which leads to distortion, it permeates everything, you know, so not just your spirit, but even your body, your mentality, your gender, you know, when you're trying to move outside of what you are because you're suffering from an identity crisis. And it was funny as he was speaking when he said that, because I just remembered something that happened just this dawning. And it happens so often that I just like, I don't even think about it, but a quote unquote pastor contacted me this dawning. Well, I think the message said 4 a.m. So like, yeah, well, this dawning, right? But I didn't see it till like around 5:30 when I got up, and it was a female pastor, and she was asking me about polygyny or polygamy. Let me use the word she used, and it was some weird questions. So what I did was I just referred her to a book. And I said, well, there's a couple books that you could check out on the subject, and that may give you a good starting point, and you can move at your own pace, right? And that was also because I don't have polygamy talks with people. I'm not that guy, you know. I'm not an advocate of polygamy or anything like that. I'm not even an advocate of marriage, so yeah, I'm not advocating polygamy, right? But so she said, but I heard you say before you talked about polygyny. And I said, yeah, but that's not polygamy. I said, there's many, there's different dynamics underneath polygamy. But I said, I only use that term because that's what some people will even understand. So then she went off. She said that I had a little penis, that I'm not very, she went crazy, that I prey on women who are not intelligent, who have low self-esteem, and she was just going crazy. She was just going off, right? Message after message. Pastor. So, like Zach talked about that holding back. So this dawning, I didn't even brush my teeth yet. So I was like, man, you know what? F it. So I just let her have it. I was like, look. I tried. Yeah. Like, I was being friendly. I was like, yo, so this was a setup. So I was like, first of all, your wig sucks. Like, that's the very first thing I said. I was like, your wig sucks. I said, you clearly are trying to get at me, and you're 15 years older than me, and you like me, and I can tell. Then I was like, yo, and on top of that, I was like, yo, and all of your pictures, I just looked at your profile, and all your pictures just show your cleavage or your face. That means you're overweight. So you're fat, you're old, and you're miserable. And I just let her have it. She's like, what? So she was like, oh, don't try to shame me. She came back with some more. I was like, look, I'm going to say this. She's like, first of all, polygamy is illegal. And I said, see, that's the problem. Polygamy is not illegal. Bigamy is illegal. So you're feeble-minded. So this is what we're going to do. I just left this open long enough so you could read what I typed, but now I'm going to report you and block you. Right? Now, that's just Sunday. You know what I'm saying? Like, this just a Sunday for me. I deal with this kind of stuff all the time because when you put yourself in the front, sometimes people develop fantasies. They'll be like, oh, I like him or I like her, and then they read something about you. It's like, oh, but he wants this, and now they feel rejected, but you've never even had a conversation with them. And I could tell what it was. I peeked the whole vibe, but I just wasn't in the mood. Normally I would just block it. I was like, you know what, you fat old hag, like, you're gonna get it. I'm gonna let you really know. And then as soon as I was like hitting her with certain, I'm not gonna say everything I said because I went to everything, the shape of her nose. I was like, your nose looked like a goddamn boxing glove, spread across your entire face. You look ridiculous. Let's go ahead. Yeah, I just went in. I said, was it an Everlast? Like a boxing glove with no label. I don't mind a bell pepper nose, but god dog, you know what I mean? I'm like, look, you're ugly, you fat, you old. Get away from me. And you're supposed to be it's Sunday. Like, why? And I used to say, Sunday, shouldn't you be getting ready to address your congregation? And you over here in my inbox, you shouldn't even be talking to me. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man, it just made me think about. And I mean, I should have. Normally, I screenshot when this stuff happened, but I was a little fatigued, and I didn't take my usual screenshots. I just reported it and put the reason as being hostile and insulting. You know, but you know that comes with being TV. I get stuff like that probably every 7 to 10 days. And when I'm doing my podcast, you know, like when I haven't been as visible lately, but when I'm more visible, it's pretty constant. You know, I get dudes in my inbox trying to challenge me on certain points. You know, and for the most part, I usually ignore it because, like I've said before, anybody who has sense doesn't challenge other scholars. You know, now calling someone out or, you know, really being a warrior for the truth and righteousness is another thing. If someone is doing something that's injurious to the community or they're hoodwinking them or whatever, and you reach out to them and say, hey, man, I see what you're doing, you know, and try to have a conversation. If they're resistant to that, then yeah, you might publicly denounce them. That's something, you know, and I've never been denounced because I don't do any of that. But that's understandable. But when you have somebody who just they're irrelevant because they're so far away from their own life purpose that they don't even matter at this point because they're so far away from who they're supposed to be, and they try to cling on to you in any sort of way to try to get you to acknowledge them. You know, you have to see it what it is for what it is a mile away, and you have to sidestep it as quick as you can. And especially in today's society, I mean, she'll take those screenshots. She might have read them in church today. But she could take those screenshots and say, he called me ugly, he called me fat, he called me this and that, and this is supposed to be a man of God. You know, that's how it goes. But some days, trust me, even people like me, who you think are always a certain constant, so like I can come in and out of this knowledge, I can leave and I could go, because Chief is always there. I still have my own horoscope. Some days I'm not feeling it. You know, some days I feel like cursing somebody out, I wasn't even cursing her out because I'm just like, this is just how unbeknownst to you, this is how I think. You know, so I just don't let that leak out. You know, so even if I met you and I was friendly, which I'd still be like, man, this bro, oh no, spread across her goddamn face. I would still say that inside of my brain, but outside I'd be, hey sister, how you doing? All right, what you need help with? Okay, all right, give thanks. You see?
You see that?
I'm just saying, you know, it's like when you know, and men, I don't know if you've ever been through this, but I hope you haven't, because this is hard. You know, if you ever been with a woman, you know, women, they encourage you and they make you feel like you're on top of the world when they're doing what they're supposed to. You ever get in a situation where there's a breakup and she tells you the truth? And you like, yeah. You feel your legs go from underneath you. You know, your heart start palpitating. It's like, all this time you knew, you know, and it's like, yeah, I was trying to be nice. I didn't tell you, yeah, I could smell that rotten tooth in the back of your mouth. I've been smelling it all this time, man. You know, you covering it up with gum and it ain't been working, or you know, or this. So yeah, I felt down there. You got one ball smaller than the other. Yeah, I noticed it. You ball imbalanced, you know, or you're only halfway circumcised. You know, your circumcision, they didn't finish it.
You got a bot surgery?
Yeah, bot surgery. You look like Batman, Two-Face. Jane look like Two-Face. You know, so you know, you don't want to have to tell you. Hey, ball dystrophy. You know, so that's what I'm saying. Now, you imagine someone in my position. I sense and see and feel all of your sensitivities and vulnerable places so that I can help you. Don't think I don't see everything. You know, and part of your job when you're in my position is to not say everything, to know how to excrete knowledge and excrete wisdom. And then sometimes, even when you think you're getting it directly, you don't realize. There's times I've told members, hey, you fat, you need to lose some weight. But they don't realize that was the trickle. You see, there's so much more that could be said. And even if I had to say it that way, it's because I've already been trying to lead you to something. I've had members who every day they complain that they want to mate. They're so lonely, but you stuffing your face with ho-hos and Twinkies. And I want to make, well, nobody would want you because you have no respect for your body. You have no respect for yourself, even if you are big, but you clearly do not care anything about yourself. But you're demanding that someone come along and care about you more than you care about yourself. Right. That's just, it doesn't work. I don't care how many spells and candles you light, it's not going to work. You know, so yeah, there's a lot that goes along with this job. And a lot of it, like Zach said, you know, a lot of it is the energy that's expended in not saying and not cursing someone out and not, you know, stooping to another person's level. Mm-hmm. But some days you like, man, you know what? I'm gonna get this off my chest. I ain't carrying this today. Mm. You just let them know what it is. You know.
Yeah, man. It comes with, you know, some people just play hate from the sidelines. You know what I'm talking about? They just, you know, want to be you, but they don't want to, you know, take the responsibilities of the duties that you take on, man. I mean, yeah, like I was saying, some of us was built for that D-line. I was one of those that was built for the D-line. You know, I can look back and see Zach, you know, being all, you know, mobile and agile, being the safety, but it's like, I'm gonna beat him, but you know, I'm built for the D-line. You know what I'm saying? I'm built to take hits, you know, and then move people out the way. You know what I'm saying? That I can focus on that and be good at that, or I can still be like, man, I want to play safety. You know what I'm saying? I want to take all these hits, you know, or I can succeed and then do what the job instructs me to do, and that's take hits, take people out, and then run for the quarterback and sack them. You know what I'm saying? Or run for the running back and sack them. You know, close up the gap, close up the hole. You know what I'm talking about? So they don't get through. You know, some people are made for, you know, frontline assaults, and some are made for archery and whatnot. I mean, you gotta know your role, man, and know what's in you. You know what I'm saying? And what's dripping off you, so you know what you're built for. You know what I'm talking about? There was a time, man, I stayed just driving small cars, just regular cars, right? And then one time, man, you know what I'm talking about? I had no choice, you know, especially in the military. They had F-150s. I ain't never drove a truck before. I'm like, I don't want to drive no dang on truck. I was worried about it. I got in that dang on F-150, man, and, you know, I went there a couple of times like, I'm like, here we go. You know, I'm like, yeah, buddy, rolling like a big guy. You know, yeah, it's like, I'm acclimated to this. I can whip this dang on thing, you know, because I thought about just going fast in a regular car or something like that, or a V8, you know, but then you got all that power behind you, and then you able to acclimate to certain roads. I'm like, oh man, you know, because I'm thinking, I'm sure I can't drive no truck. Then I'm like, ain't gonna drive that truck. And I drive that dang on truck. Then all of a sudden, oh, you always driving that truck? What? Okay, I don't care. You know, so some people, you know, you just gotta know what you can ride, and it's just like you know, I ain't saying, but you know, hey, you gotta know what type of woman is for you, because you know, like you said, man, that's way too much of a woman for you. You gotta crawl before you walk, man. You know, that is a Chevy. You know, you may be acclimated to a dang old Honda Civic and not know it. You know what I'm talking about? But yeah, I'm
done. And that, people, that was Aki Love. Aki El Karar. Thank you. And then he mutes out just as efficiently as he jumped in. Peace. I didn't get to say peace to you, Aki. Thank you for joining the build. There's so much going on in the chat. I tried to just highlight things as they were coming through. I'm not going to go all the way back, but I did want to read some of the comments in the Clubhouse chat. Earlier, Aki Jason said, once the cylinders are moving, less fuel needs to keep the momentum going. More fuel needed, to stop and go. And Akotiafe had an aha moment based on.
Before you go to the next one, I actually meant to bring that up. That was a great comment by Aki Jason, man, because in this work, in personal development, that is usually when you become embittered to it, when there is all that stop and go, you know, and as opposed to kind of maintaining some sort of inertia. And yeah, your first couple of steps are the hardest, like in anything. But if you maintain some sort of consistent practice, and look at this growth as a practice, you know, as opposed to asking those questions like, well, how long is this going to take? So if I do this, then I'll be all right. Or saying things like, I can't wait till I fix this. I can't wait till I don't have this problem anymore. When you think like that, you'll always have that stop and go, you know. And, you know, for those of you on Clubhouse, Yakira-Eden just smiled because she has said things like that. I'm looking at the screen while I'm watching Clubhouse at the same time. You know, listen to Clubhouse. Yeah, she know I'm talking about her too. So the thing is, when you kind of get into that space where you say, this is my life, this is just my lifestyle, and it's not going to, you know, maybe slow down, speed up, but there's going to be no stop and go, you'll find that your entire system will run more efficiently, because just like a vehicle, you know, your cars break down in traffic. You know, traffic is murder on a car. Traffic is murder on a motorcycle. They overheat. That's why you see a lot of times, if you ever notice, for those of you who don't ride, when there's traffic, you'll see motorcycle riders. I mean, I just drive through the traffic, but those who want to obey the law and not drive between cars, they'll be under an underpass just sitting, or on the side just sitting, just kind of sitting and waiting, you know, because the stop and go is hard on the bike. The bike will overheat. You know, it's hard on the brakes, it's hard on the clutch, it's hard on gears, you know. So just like, and for any car as well, you know, the city cars tend to be more beat up than cars in suburban or rural areas, because they may have more mileage, they're going more, but, you know, just cruising along the highway is the easiest thing a car can do. It's easy. Even cruising along at 60, 70, 80 miles an hour, your car is half asleep doing something like that. You're not stomping on brakes, nothing like that. Everything is running super efficient. But when you're stopping and going, stopping and going, stopping and going, stopping and going, there's so many things in your car that will start to loosen up and rattle, and your brakes and your rotors and so many different things that start to go as a result of that. So I just thought that was a good point that he brought up, because it is related, and I'm assuming that he was relating it to the inner work that we all kind of strive towards, and when we're creatively channeling and harmonizing ourselves in a way where that inner realization is constant, you know, and you're moving consistently, it actually does become easier, believe it or not, the more time you do it. You know, it's like reincarnation. You know, the more you do it, the smarter you get, the easier it becomes. You know, so yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Aki Jason, for sharing, and Chief for elaborating on that. Yes, I have said that in the past. Yes, I've owned it here even. Instead of recognizing that the journey continues, it's this cycle that continues, as long as I'm here, as long as I have breath. The charge is to continue climbing and evolving. And I am grateful for that. So based on everything that's been shared so far, you know, I always find that, you know, we prepare so much. We prepare so much, and then, I pull all these notes together, and then we don't get to it all, but I wanted to just touch on a few things, and I'm not pushing for us to close out. I just wanted to make sure that I connected the dots to something, a particular scripture that connects to something we've all been talking about, but you just said really directly, right? That everybody is built for their position. And so, boom, just like magic, like manna from the heavens. Here it come. Before I even say, 1 Corinthians 12, 8-12 speaks. First, I want to just give some context. So this is Paul addressing the church at Corinth, right? And I know whenever we hear the term, well, we may also know this already. When we hear, a church is being addressed, we imagine like the church that's on the corner, or some mega church, or this big place, right? This edifice that all of these people are congregating in. But I want you to actually envision a house and a couple of people coming together and forming the body of this particular church. And each person being a member, right? So when we think about body parts, or you lose a body part, like sometimes you'll hear, oh, the person was dismembered. They lost a part of their body. They lost one of their members. What? I didn't make these slides for nothing. Y'all gonna behold this marvelous slide work. Actually, I have to just, no, I didn't even make the slides, so no. But I think the maker of the slides is definitely like, you gonna see these slides. But actually, no. So in 1 Corinthians 12, 8-12, Paul is addressing the church at Corinth. And there's all matter of foolishness going on in Corinth. And 1 Corinthians lays out quite a bit of instruction and details about what should and shouldn't happen within the body, right, of this church. The piece that I wanted to share talks about spiritual gifts. And while it's addressing spiritual gifts, I thought it aligned perfectly with the overall mission of us coming into oneness, and even the brain body connection. So it says, for the one is given by the Spirit the word of wisdom, right? So now again, these are the spiritual gifts that each one may be given. To another, the word of knowledge by the same Spirit. So there's one Spirit doling out all of these things, all of these gifts. To another, faith by the same Spirit. To another, the gift of healing by the same Spirit. To another, the working of miracles. To another, prophecy. To another, discerning of spirit. To another, diverse kinds of tongues. To another, the interpretation of tongues. And then it says, by all these worketh the one and the self same Spirit, dividing to every man several as he will. So it's like we're each being given something, but it's all for us to serve within the body, to serve this one. So if you think of all of these components as the components of your limbs, right? Or even each member within a family, or each member within a community. Everyone has their specific purpose and gifts, or even talents, right? And ultimately, the intention, right? And again, I will that I'm on target, but it's like the intention of the giver of all of these gifts are for them to work together, for them to come into alignment, but also for them to stand on their own. Because if not, one person could be given all of these things, but one person isn't being given all of these things, not all of them. One person may get all, but then another person may only get one. But the intention is for you to be that, to explore it and fully personify that thing, so that ultimately the body, or the church, right, or the collective is able to benefit. And then in verse 12, the kind of I guess final statement that I wanted to share on with this particular scripture is, For as the body is one and hath many members, and all members of that one body, being many, are one body, so also is Yeshua HaMashiach. So it's likening, like, you have all of these things and you're one, but you have many members. But they're all one, and they're all coming into oneness also as the Christ here. I wanted to, I know we touched on the body, but I never defined it, right? And we usually always open with definitions. I wanted to save the definition of body for now, because I wanted to get into that particular scripture first. The body, as defined by Maya Webster, is the physical whole of a living or dead organism, right? The trunk or main part of an organism. A human being or a person. But what I liked was the definition that's highlighted below: the physical structure of the human or animal seen as one single organism. So the body is being able to be seen as one whole organism. So earlier I was speaking about a cell, and a cell having everything that it needs contained within it. But then it moves and does what it does, and it has to cohabitate and connect and bond with other cells that have other, intention and driving force or gifts in this example, in the example given in scripture. And it's how we function as a standalone, but also how we come together that ultimately determines how effective and efficient and amazing the body can even be. And again, I'm kind of moving between the individual physical body and also, if you're connected to community, your role within the body of that particular community. I also thought it was really, I thought this was interesting. So I don't dig so much into the Greek Testament. I don't know why. I just really like the Hebrew Testament. But when I was looking at precepts, this and just digging into this particular passage, the Greek word for body is nope, not that. So the Greek word for body is soma, and soma. When I saw soma, I'm like, oh, like a somatic experience, right? Like the senses. And I'm like, well, right. So often, and even myself, I have a thing with like touching. I like touching, and I like textures, and I like that. I have a funny sense of smell, and it's just like, I pay probably much more attention to my somatic experience than I should, right? That's what I'm pretty much saying. And even taste, like I just like sweets all the time. But when I realized the word for body was soma, it immediately took me to the word somatic, right? And just thinking about how even through our senses, we send and receive signals, right? And if we rely too much on those physical experiences, if we rely on this body just being this somatic experience, we lose out on so much, because the gifts that are given they're given to the body, but it's actually for the entire being to activate and to move upon and to move to and through. And so if it's kind of like we just focus on, as the word soma, the initial, like the first definition that I saw for the Greek term for body, soma, is like the dead body or corpse. And I was like, well, how come the dead body in the breakdown of this definition in Strong's came before the living body? But then I'm like, well, technically the living body is dying the moment it becomes alive. So it goes to even reinforce, at least to me, that we can't be so connected to the somatic experience. And sometimes that somatic experience is what keeps us potentially tethered to what we think makes us amazing, what that one good quality is that everyone has told you since I was 5 months old or 5 years old. Like, this is the thing that I was known for. And that was celebrated. And so, you know what? That's all I can ever be and do. But you've been given so much more, and you never get to be those things. You never get to explore those things. You never even get to do those things. And so therefore, you're crystallized in the one. And when you're crystallized in the one, let's just say you find your way into community and you are slow walk through, you should do this. You're going to do this. Explore getting into dance. But you like, I don't dance. All I do is I do art. Like, I draw really, really well. I've been told that my entire life. This is the only thing, like, this is my purpose, because this is what everyone has validated. But in this space, you're being charged to do more than that. Since I was 5 years old. Right. I got to take it from Aki Zach. But it's like, we have to come out of that dead, crystallized way of thinking and really do exactly what those what was shown in that image. We have to consistently be moving, right? Be in motion and connect, find community, and be able to kind of link in arms and be that web of connectivity that's just radiating and beautiful and all together. You know, as we said in the opening meditation, all these things can exist together. It really, really can. And I guess I'll close out with the Matthew scripture. And when I say I'll close out, I mean, we could just build as long as we're going to build. But as far as going through the slides, I'll share Matthew, and then I'll give a bit of the context behind why it was chosen. But if thy eye be evil and thy whole body be shall be full of darkness, if therefore the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness? I'm gonna read that again. But if thine eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness? So again, it's like, if what you're seeing, if what you're basing everything on is, and again, this is how I'm receiving it. What's that? If everything that you're seeing is based on seeing it from this dark or shadowy place, and actually, even when I looked at that scripture, one thing that I considered was like how you always need, in order to even see a shadow, there has to be like, in order to see your shadow, right? Your body has to be there. So it's like, you can't just focus on the body. Right. Thank you. It is the shadow that sits in the front of the light. But the light is there, and we are, right, there we go. Yep. And we're refusing to let that light shine. So it's like, that's the challenge. It's like, yes, we need to acknowledge that we have this physical body, that we, you know, that if we're firing on all cylinders, that we're able to move fervently from receiving a message to making sure that that message is delivered appropriately. But we're paying keen attention to the meditations of our own heart, right? We're paying attention to the thoughts that we allow to swirl around. Because even if we don't say those things, the signals are still being sent constantly. The signals are still being sent. And so you're still pouring something all over your internal organs. And so with that, I'm just going to once again go through the chat and then see if anybody wants to. I'm going to start with Clubhouse because I always skip Clubhouse. Okay, so there's nothing. Speak on it, sis. Woohoo! Thank you. Zach.
You know, when you were just speaking too, though, it made me think of something that along the lines lines of when, that saying that if something's not growing, then it's dead. And so many people would stay stuck in just of old patterns or old habits because, well, this is what I was supposed to do. And not saying that, not wanting to level up, not wanting to go beyond it, or getting stuck on the code, but not on vibing with the method of saying, okay, now I've learned this. Now what am I supposed to do with this? Like, how am I supposed to evolve this? How do we go beyond this? As opposed to just saying, you know what, it is what it is. Or that what the description that you just had of saying that, it's this darkness that ultimately I have befriended. There was what's that song? This might not even be on the same lines of it. It was The Sounds of Darkness?
Sounds of Darkness. That was a group.
Yeah, but it was a song that was on one of the podcasts.
Sounds of Blackness,
right?
No.
It was the one that was on. She played on it. It was like it was the sounds of silence. Maybe the sounds of silence.
I didn't know. I didn't know.
Y'all nuts.
I didn't know. Speak on it, brother. Speak on it.
It was the sounds of
Oh no, the sound. Okay, Sound of Music. The Sound of Music. No. No.
No, that ain't it.
Sing it, man. You started singing it.
It was like the neon light. It was a neon. They bowed to the neon gods.
Sound of Silence. Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah. Hey, I want to say the N-word so bad.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I saw the flash of a neon light. Yeah.
I don't know that one.
Down in the sounds of silence.
That in the podcast. Yeah, I played that in the podcast. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I'm going to talk to you again because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. Yeah.
Thank you. I was like, I was trying to shuffle some files around in my head. I was like, I know it's in there. I just can't get to it. I can't pull it. Now I forgot what I was even trying to say about that. But anyway.
He was talking about neon lights. He said something. There's a line that says, I turned my collar to the cold and damp when my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence.
I thought they said something along the lines they bowed to the neon gods they made.
Yeah, that would be a different song.
Well, all right, moving on.
It was a remix. That was a remix, Aki. Don't.
That's the one that's coming out next strong. We're going to speak that into existence. Yeah, I'm just going to bow out.
That is Sound of Silence. My bad. That is silent. You on the right one.
Oh, okay. All right. Back to my...
So I know I had a point. Dang it.
You know what? Screw it. I'm out of here, man.
I quit. Oh, no. Oh, no.
He done mic drop before he even said what he's going to say.
Oh, no. That was funny.
Yeah, but that Sound of Silence. I played that on, I forget the name of the podcast, but yeah. Bow to the neon gods they made.
Oh, that's what I was talking about. So people
I knew it was coming back. I knew it.
Yeah, but it's like, it's how many times have you heard teachers like that's their L, right? Or that's his L or her L. It's like I would even liken that to culture. And if one, how many times he said, if one doesn't choose a culture, one will be chosen for you. Well, how many of us have chosen, quote unquote, the God that you have served? And even that goes back to what's in the Anu, was like that's one of the most important decisions. The first important decision somebody will make, and then the second one is choosing to make. How many of us have chosen that and saying that this is the one, and it could look like procrastination is one of the the God that you serve, or it could look like durationalism, or it could look like consumerism is the one that one has chosen to serve. Or I heard somebody once say, the only God that I bow to is green, and that I'm looking at money. Is the only thing in consumerism, or some people just get stuck on wanting their stuff to look like somebody else's. So now I'm gonna open up black banks, I'm gonna open up Black Wall Street, I'm gonna open up this, but using something else as a standard, right? So that standard now becomes your God, and you now have to recreate it. And how many so now it's like there's that darkness inside, but somebody's trying to tell you, I'm trying to put something else in front of you. I'm trying to you're gonna let this light in. Are you going to keep blotting this light out? Are you going to reflect this light? Or are you going to keep trying to search for something that's down there that I'm telling you, look up, which is like going back to the football reference, like the eye in the sky doesn't lie. Like anytime you start to, unfortunately, when you're in it, you don't see the mistakes that you're making until you watch film. Well, it's like now, somebody's always watching film on you. Regardless, somebody's watching film on you, and you're going to be held accountable for the mistakes that you made. And even when somebody says, "Oh, well, I didn't know the law," and this is that whole saying, "Well, ignorance of the law is no excuse," you still will be held accountable for what you knew and what you did not know. Even when somebody's going into a relationship, you're held accountable for what you knew and what you did not know. And I'm sure a lot of the things that you knew could have led you down a different street had you just not gave in to your own emotions and desires. But nonetheless, it's like, can you now, are you going to dance and keep bowing to that neon God that you've made, or the neon God that this society has made to ultimately just spit you out when you turn 40 or 50, because I got no more use for you? Now it's like, let me consume somebody who's 18, 19 and jump on their back for another 20 years to extract the human resource out of them until somebody else comes along, and now we're just going to do the same thing. Can you now see that and start to make new choices and start to fire on all cylinders, or only firing on the cylinders that the society has given you, so that you can now power that engine as opposed to powering the engine that you have chosen?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. When you're talking about even the idea of their own L, right? So each has their own God. And when you're acknowledging that, or when you maybe you're just picking up a God along the way, right? And you listed some of those examples, but then you have to serve that God. And how you don't get to determine how you serve that God. They then tell you, right? So now you're committed. You want what I said you can have. So this is the price that you have to pay. And it may just be just that. And it may not even be that you don't have you may still have the potential for that to be that 12 cylinder. But what you have to sacrifice, or what you have to offer, the offering that you have to make, costs you a couple of cylinders. So you don't even have access to it. You don't have access even to the totality of your potential, because of the God that you have chosen to serve. Whether it's the God of beauty, and you're up in there buying products to fight the free radicals, and you don't even know what a free radical is, and you're not even free. You're a slave to whatever you're buying, or any other. And again, that was a plug for the previous, but or whatever you are God to, whether it's money, as you touched on. The impact is so great, and often we don't see it until it's way, 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 way too late, if we get the opportunity for redemption, or to see it at all, or if we're even open and receptive to hearing it when it's said. Or like when Chief said, before he gets to the, listen, you're fat and you need to lose weight. How many lighter, dare I say lighter, instructions were provided to you that you didn't take, that you didn't.
Like the Anu Way having a whole section on that we need to move every day.
Right.
Or the Anu Way even stating
right.
that if a woman is healthy, she will be beautiful regardless of anything else.
Right. Right. So that being there, but then that's not what we're focusing on. That's not what we're choosing to do. And it really, and there is a command the day. It's called the right mind. And in that particular command the day, Chief talks about mastering your human mind, right? And there's a particular quote that I wanted to share with you all. And it's connected to everything we've been discussing today, right? How we can get into understanding the concept of mastering our mind. We master our mind by choosing to focus on a higher level of consciousness, choosing to appreciate the reality that you were given everything you were given, all of these things, all of this stuff, for a particular purpose. And the more we can express gratitude and explore all of this that is comprised of our physical body, the more we can engage and explore and even accept that, the more we get to experience this plane of reality, the more efficiently and effectively we can become one in the body of community. And even being balanced, which then also speaks to health, right? Because we know when our body is imbalanced, those unhealthy physical experiences that we have, those are sending up the flares. Hey, something's wrong. Something's wrong. I need you to fix this. I need you to address this. And the addressing isn't the mask that you put on, or, all right, I just put on 50 pounds because I'm not moving every day and I'm not maintaining my health. So I'll just cover it up. I'll cover it up and will that nobody says anything. I'll just wear a bigger size skirt or a bigger jacket as a man or whatever. But instead we have to feed. So what Chief says is we have to feed the body with the higher consciousness. And sometimes physical movement is actually a good way of taking in certain information to begin to condition the body by conditioning the mind. Right. So that again is that mind or brain body connection. And then there's that idea of drilling, continuing to reinforce. Like I offered a few affirmation. Well, I offered a visualization, but even I shared an affirmation, like offering gratitude for every component of what you are and what you've been given, and just appreciating it for that. Even if you don't understand why, or you don't know what the purpose is, just be grateful for it. Because I tell you what, when you show ingratitude for something, or when you are but I want it more, and then the less that you're saying you didn't want because you wanted more becomes non-existent, then you're like, oh man, that sucks. But I did it. I squandered it. I didn't show gratitude. I didn't show appreciation. And even the little that you have, if that's how you're even perceiving it, cannot be there. You cannot have those legs that you complain about. You cannot be able to walk or speak or have your faculties of thought. So yeah, I really enjoyed the build. I will that it all gelled and made sense and came together in some sort. Come together in some sort of way. Yeah. This was cool. Did anyone?
So I have one piece, and I know you're ready to close out, that I thought was kind of important with going back to the Corinthians scripture that you had shared in 1 Corinthians 12.
Mm-hmm.
Where it lists the nine gifts of the Spirit. I think it's also important because one of the issues that were going on at that time was that people were jealous of each other. Like this one can do this, that one can do that, and people were turning to idols, and they were turning to magic because they were like, well, this one has this gift, so I'm going to go over here to this idol and see if I can do the same thing, and that kind of leads you to you had shared, I think it was Matthew 6:23, when it was speaking about the eye.
Yes.
And those two are related to each other, because if you read before 6:23 and of course read after 6:23, that's where you get that famous scripture a lot of people use, that no one can serve two masters, right? You will hate one and love the other, so you can't serve Elohim and serve wealth. So what the issue there was, like, you're not using, everybody is given a gift from the same source, and this gift completes the package, or it completes the solution. But when you start to look at the gift for personal enrichment and not understanding that that gift is present so that you can further the mission of the kingdom, now you're looking at things with the wrong eye. Because there was like a story, not to go too deep into it, but there was a story in scripture also that correlates, where there was a master who had basically given each worker, he had a bunch of workers, and he gave them some time. Like, you're going to work from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., I'm going to pay you this. You're going to work from this, I'm going to pay you this, da-da-da-da. And at the end, when it came time to collect pay, there was some people who worked for 12 hours, some people worked for 5 hours, and somebody worked for 1 hour. And they all got the same denars, or the same pay. And the people who worked longer, they were upset. They were grumbling. They were like, "Yo, how you gonna pay them?" Da, da, da. And that was the reference to the bad eye. You're looking at things with the bad eye. Meaning, like, it's not about what I pay you here. It's not about what magic you're able to do here, or what you see somebody do, or this person has a nice car and a nice house and whatnot. Why can't I have what they have? It's about what's being stored up in another dimension for you. So when you're looking at things with a good eye, or with your first eye vision, again, when you go to supreme mathematics, you have C. C means to see with what? With the inner eye. The same thing with, supreme alphabet. When you have supreme mathematics, you have 3. 3 is understanding. What does understanding mean? Understanding means to see things with the third eye, or with the first eye. So there's still that concept in understanding and seeing. There's that concept with the letter C in seeing. But it's all seeing with the good eye, as opposed, which is the eye that's looking for the spiritual story in all of this. Yeah, I worked 12. This person worked 1 hour. What's the spiritual story in all of this? Because everyone is going to work according to their capabilities as well, their authentic capabilities. Some people just lazy and their life shows it. But, what they should have been looking at, and that's what it was kind of saying, was that you should be grateful that there has been an outpouring of grace.
Right.
Like, you're looking in your own hand and saying, hey, man, I only got this. And you're not looking overall and saying, wow, look at this. This person received this person received that. Because ultimately it was not mine to give. But I'm going to be happy for someone else's grace. I'm going to be happy for someone else's success. And that's what Paul was speaking about when he brought up the gifts. He used the word gifts specifically. Those are endowments. Those are divine endowments, right? So instead of us being in competition with each other because of our gifts, and he was saying, he said, I don't want you to be ignorant. That was what Paul said in that scripture. And he was referring to those who serve idols. The people who serve dumb idols are ignorant, because they're using that in order just to get things. But you've received these 9 gifts that, go beyond materialistic leanings, and we should just be celebrating the fact that we got something. Whether you got something bigger or I got something, it's like we're all family. This Kwanzaa, my brother gets a bike, I get a skateboard. I'm upset because I got the skateboard and he got the bike. No, wow, you got a bike. Pops gave you a bike. All right, cool. Let's be happy about that. We a family that got a bike. We a family that got a skateboard. We a family that got an apostle. We a family that has someone that was someone who has the gift of tongues. You know, and that's, I think, is an important thing in trying to get some discernment and some levity and really understanding what's happening, you know. And when you glorify yourself in it, well, I'm like this and I got this gift, and people always tell me this about myself, and people always come to me for my visions, and whenever I dream something, it comes true. Like, shut up. Just shut the F up, please. Like, please shut up, because you're damning yourself with all of that bragging. And the reality is, now you're serving two masters, because you're glorifying in the materialism of it. And the materialism is your thought that's attached to the thing. It's not just money. It's your thought that's attached. I. You know, so now what happens is you end up loving the glorification, loving the ego, loving the ego stroke. So when the true master comes along and says, hey, but wait, you despise that. And that happens all the time. When a person of the Most High comes and says, wait a minute, I got to correct you on this. I got to check you on this. You're not supposed to. You hate them. Oh, you know, you're negative. Oh, you're trying to bring me down. Oh, I'm leaving. Oh, I'm not comfortable here. Oh, they said something I didn't like. Or they said something that didn't make me feel good, because you're trying to serve two masters, and you've already decided to love the one that has given you deceitful riches and possessions in the earthly realm, and the one that's giving you the spiritual truth, the spiritual value. You now have decided to hate them. You know, so that's all I wanted to share on that.
Yeah, when you talk about, and I thank you for that, Chief. I didn't even get to touch on the jealousy piece and the envy, and that being a part of the premise, or how we do that so often, and it does diminish even what we've been given, and that actually separates us from even being able to come into community and have a righteous experience. The standard may be righteous, the you know, the charge and the imperative may all be there as it's set in the Anu way. But if I don't choose to stand on that foundation and to allow the instruction that is within that tome to kind of, well, to know it and to allow it to flow and move through me and to remake me, then I'm in a space where I'm really not in that space. Right. And I know you said that so many times, like, people may see the people that are on screen often representing Anu and think, okay, well, she's been here, he's been here for a long time. So, wow, but maybe we're not really here. We're not fully vested. We're not truly standing on that foundation. And we have some other narrative. We actually have another L that we're serving while in this space. And then we're not here. Oftentimes people may question the validity of the space and not the validity of that person's positioning or choice to be positioned within the space. And that actually erodes the body, right? Because if we're thinking of these chains that are linked, right? It's kind of like you're only as strong as your weakest link. We don't even want any weak links, right? We don't want no weak links. So yeah, thank you for all that you shared and giving more context to that. It was very, very helpful for me. Yeah. Did anyone that's on the stage or anyone else want to share anything or jump in? And I'll just do one final scan of the chat. Okay. Sounds like a no. All right.
I'll just say this before we get out of here. A couple things that one main thing that I was thinking about was just, respect where you're at in your journey. Take your journey serious and honor what's being put in front of you. Because it'll start to let you know what engine that ultimately is in your vehicle, and how ultimately one can start to make that engine run on the optimal or primal usage of that engine, or one might say, you know what, I actually have a V12 engine in here, but because I've been hanging around V6 engine so long, I've not even been running at my optimal levels.
Right.
I've been blending in and doing what everybody else has been doing, and now all of a sudden, you know, that's that old Les Brown thing. Is like people are not miserable because they aim for the target too high and miss. It's because they aim too low and hit. And how many times have you, me, or all of like those who like we've just been aiming so low? And it's like it's not really requiring you to grow. It's not requiring you to step out of your comfort zone. It's not requiring you to step out of that darkness or challenge that L that you have now consciously or unconsciously have picked. It's not challenging you to do any of that until one starts to say, you know what? Let me show you how to run this car. I got the manual to it. I broke down the manual. I teach the manual. Can one now be offended because somebody now might know the manual better than you? And who are you to tell me I bought this car? I've been with this car for the longest. Right. I'm telling you what kind of car you have. You can't tell me this. And want to become offended and start to get into an argument or all of that in order to go back into a rut, and then wondering why things are not working out because one has been on a pursuit of happiness and not a pursuit of peace. I'm just going to keep doing what makes me happy. This makes me happy, even though that happiness is transient and it seems like one is always chasing, and it seems like you're only firing on 2 cylinders when I can get a drink, firing on a couple cylinders when I can smoke weed, firing on a couple cylinders when I'm doing some debaucherous things that I got no business doing, instead of, you know what, let me practice some humility and get some peace in my life so that therefore I now know what my identity looks like in the midst of chaos. So now I can start to fire on all cylinders when all hell is breaking loose around me, or when everybody is jumping for joy, I'm still firing on all cylinders. Can one practice humility in order to get there, or does one want to keep running around in their little puny behind engine, and they're wondering when they run into somebody who's running on a V12 and actually using the vehicle of what it was designed to do, and then get offended because that person is running their mile, running their race, or I should be running it the same way that they are, not respecting their journey of how they got to where they are. So, yeah, give thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. I might have heard someone else come off. I wasn't sure. Maybe not. Okay. Yeah, thank you for that, Aki Zach. Yeah, absolutely. The key is really to use what you've been given and run your own race, right? And trust that everything is in alignment. Like when I opened up the segment today, you know, I shared some of what we will walk away with, and I just want to reiterate that it's like consider how right thinking and culture will aid in transforming your thoughts, and therefore the body, not just your body, but everything that you're connected to being an extension of the body. And if you're connected to community and you have the grace of being able to explore and grow and just be free, you know, particularly as women, to be free enough to have that transformative experience of being, or even trying to be fully feminine, right? Or being, as Chief described, like what is a beautiful woman is right there. It was right there in the Anu way, you know, being healthy, being fit, just being able to do that and reinforcing that when we're functioning under right culture, we will recognize our gifts. And therefore we have the opportunity to be in a space, right, to incubate that and to manifest. And what you're charged with doing right now may not be the totality of what you are to be. I may be, you know, in this space to cultivate a level of understanding for how to present myself in this space. But tomorrow I may be told, okay, you're not doing that anymore. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I did something bad or that I did something good. It's not even about that. That just may no longer be the season. And so I can't watch the screen and say, oh man, I wish I could have done that better. I wish I was doing. That's not really the point. So just continue to really be kind to yourself and recognize that we have to unlearn the things that we've been literally pouring onto ourselves. Yeah, that's it. So with that, I just want to say, give thanks to the impeccable team that has the slides popping up right in the moment when we need them to. Of course, we have our 2023 June New Orleans retreat. The focus is going to be on kingdom culture, and that beautiful red, yellow, and green QR code can just be scanned in order to register and get additional information about the retreat. It is open to the community at large. And there's another really festive reminder. Whenever I look at this image, I'm like, yeah, that's the fire. Like, that's where we all sat. And you can kind of see, yeah, there's a lot to be seen in that photo of just community coming together and the beauty of connectivity and of us all functioning fully in what our roles are in that moment. I also want to just go through what we do each and every strong. So of course, for those within Anu, y'all keep inboxing me about the retreat. Just freaking sign up. Okay, this is what Chief y'all say to y'all who keeps inboxing him about the retreat. Just freaking sign up. He's not the retreat activities director. No, he is not. So please, also, I believe when you scan the QR code, there may even be information that will give you a little bit of FAQs. And so your questions may very well be answered there as well. Yes. That said, what we do, of course, on Yom Revi, which is Wednesday within the Anu space, we have our study session. So Anu, come through. We're actually working on our passion projects and doing some groundwork and actually identifying ways that we can come together to learn and study and to further expand and show the body of Anu and what we do. So we've got that. On Thursday, of course, we've got Aki El Karar on the Enlightenment and Transformation channel, and he's doing his phenomenal Show Improve series, aligning history with Anu and scripture to just really paint a cohesive picture of who we are and what we do and what that has looked like over time. We also, of course, have this is going to be so much fun. I mean, it's all fun, but Abba Herut and Master Menelik, dynamic duo, right? They will be doing our Yom Shishi fellowship. There's an email on the website if you have questions. Thank you. And thank you, Master Menelik, for pointing up, because the pointing up is what made me look at it. So in addition to scanning the QR code, just to go back to the retreat registration, they're on the Anu Life Global website. You'll also find a link for an email address that you can send questions to. So please, if you'd like your questions answered and you sent them to Chief Yuya via the chat, redirect them to the email, okay, to that email address. So of course we have Abba Herut and Master Menelik with the fellowship, and then we'll be coming right back around to Next Strong's Midday Affirmative. So with that, please revisit the meditation, come up with your own affirmations, think about the thoughts that you're thinking and how you can really transform those and make them consistent with the gift of what you've received thus far. Show gratitude, move your body, reflect beauty without layers of pretense and falsehood. And yeah, beyond that, I just want to say peace, give thanks for Chief Yuya for your contribution, to Aki Zach, to Akoti Yafe, to Akoti Maria for the beautiful slides. And I will that everyone has a powerful, strong. Peace.